How's it going, folks? Tonight we are tackling a true, something different, to say the very least. We are tackling the Alex Winter film Freaked, which was made and released back in 1993, but barely exists, so no one knows about it, so this is going to be a fun little read for us tonight. Our cast, well, they're right here. We're going to get into introducing ourselves, so starting us off.
Hello, my name is Mary, and I will be doing action description.
I'm Logan. I'm going to be reading Rick.
I'm Erik. I'm playing Ernie.
I'm George. I'm Elijah.
I'm Angie. I'm reading Julie.
Hello, my name is Jeremy, and I'm the worm.
Hi, I'm Zach, and I'll be Stewie.
Hi, I'm Anne, and I'll be the laughing woman.
All right, well, Mary Pat, take us away.
Freaked, an original screenplay by Tim Burns, Tom Stern, and Alex Winter. Interior Regis and Kathy Lee show set. A horribly deformed figure, hunchback, misshapen head, sits on a stool in complete silhouette. This is Rick Coogan.
Can you imagine it, Regis, Kathy Lee? One day I'm a hot young movie star, and the next day I'm a hideous mutant freak covered with festering lesions.
Oddly, Regis and Kathy Lee are also in complete silhouette.
Sounds like my wife when she misses a bud pack.
The audience cracks up. Kathy Lee poo-poos Regis.
Oh, Regis, you're incorrigible. Ricky, once you were the all-American boy next door. Oh gosh, where did that go? Ricky, once you were the all-American boy next door, star of beloved Hey Dude films. Now, the very mention of your name makes children scream in terror. We've read all about your disturbing story, but the people want to hear it from you. Ricky Coogan, why don't you tell us your story?
Well, it's kind of long, but okay. It all started when I signed the deal to be the spokesperson for the EES conglomerate.
Dissolve to Interior EES Conference Room Day. The EES logo, a large metal shoe with a bar across it with the words, "Everything except shoes" beneath. Widened to reveal Richard Hertz, president of EES, smiling rigidly to camera. Rick Coogan is next to him, also holding a stiff movie star smile. Flash! They shake hands as the EES photographer takes publicity shots. Off to one side, behind Hertz, are several EES executives. Behind Rick is his entourage. Sorry. Lawyer, bodyguard, trainer, stylist, and spirit guide. Further off, at the boardroom table, four doddering old corporate farts on the brink of death look on with glazed expressions.
So what kind of crap do you scumbags want me to peddle?
Everything except shoes, of course.
He laughs pathetically. Rick doesn't respond. Hertz nods to a nearby executive who hands him some beef sticks.
Meaty beef sticks?
Rick takes them and holds them up to the camera. Smiles. Flash.
Helmet head hairspray?
He takes the hairspray and holds it up. Smile. Flash. The assistant carefully hands Hertz a pulsating metal container with lots of warnings and danger symbols on it. Hertz gives it to Rick.
Noxon 24 biogenetic neurofertilizer.
Rick holds it up, then pushes it away in disgust.
Fertilizer? Ricky Coogan does not do ads for high-tech cow shit. I'm a star, got it, Hertz? Rico, get these misguided clowns Tony Dance's phone number. Let's get the hell out of here.
He gives the finger to the EES photographer who obligingly takes a picture. Hertz waves at him to get lost and calls after Rick, who's headed to the door with his entourage.
Whoa, Rick, wait. Only you can stand up to the radicals trying to keep Noxon from struggling farmers whose very future depends on it.
Noxon? Wasn't that just banned?
Only in the US and Europe.
But I heard that shit's lethal.
Hertz lets out a big laugh. He shakes his head at Rick.
Rick. You want proof? Fine. Just take a seat, please.
Rick nods to his entourage. They sit at the boardroom table across from the EES executives. An easel behind Hertz shows a pay card with bar graphs. Hertz whispers something to an aide who scurries off.
Meet the head of our South American research facility, Juan Valdez.
The aide ushers in a handsome Latin American executive in a natty three-piece suit and a sombrero.
My name is George Ramirez.
Whatever. He's worked with Knox on 24 every day for 5 years, and he's in fine shape. Aren't you, Juan?
George glares at Hertz bitterly. Hertz stares him down.
Yes, I am fine. Me and my team in Santa Flan have...
Santa Flan? What kind of shitty name for a country is that?
It is named for the patron saint of creamy desserts. As I was saying, we worked very closely with Knoxon.
Rick nods. We cut back to George, but he isn't George anymore. He has mutated into a similar looking actor in the same suit, the same sombrero, but shorter and swarthier.
I personally supervised its development.
Rick furrows his brow. He's a little suspicious of George's transformation, but just a little. Now George is even shorter, even swarthier. Yet another actor.
I performed rigorous scientific tests. No potential danger was left uninvestigated.
Rick's suspicion is increasing. He looks over to Hertz, who feigns total ignorance. George is now even shorter. Still, another actor. His clothes are baggy, and the sombrero is starting to slide down over his face.
The environmentalists are crackpots, all of them.
Rick looks at his entourage. Their mouths hang open in astonishment. George has now shrunk to near midget proportions. The sombrero completely covers his head. When he takes it off, we see he's now played by Linda Hunt.
It's ridiculous, I tell you. Totally ridiculous.
Rick is ready to ask questions, but Hertz cuts him off.
Thank you, Valdez. That will be all.
George nods and heads back to his seat. As he passes behind Hertz, he can't resist sticking his thumbs in his ears and making a face.
Hey, wait a second.
Ricky, this is important. We're talking about a major threat to EES image. How does $2 million plus expenses sound?
The aide reveals a new pay card on the easel. It reads $2 million.
Look, it sounds great, but...
I hear you. Make it $5 million. That is, if the board agrees.
Hertz reaches beside his chair and pulls a lever. The old geezer behind him raises their arms stiffly as if they were being pulled by strands of fishing line, which they are.
Oh, good. It's unanimous. Well, what do you say, Ricky? Are you EEG's man in Santa Flan?
Rick looks at his advisors. They look over at Linda Hunt, then emphatically shake their heads. No. Rick looks at Hertz, who shows him 5 big fingers and grins. Rick breaks into a big smile and gives Hertz his trademark thumbs up sign. Cut to interior LA airport security check. Rick stands in line at the luggage x-ray machine. He impatiently checks his watch as the x-ray checker chats him up. A crazed anarchist holding a large bomb passes through the security check unquestioned.
My kids just loved you in Hey Dude 3, The Final Countdown. We need more wholesome role models like you.
Fuck is Ernie?
We hear women's screams. They turn towards the noise and see a bunch of stewardesses scattering from a trendy young cad with a fake hand sticking out of his fly. This is Ernie, Rick's buddy and resident court jester.
Ladies, all I wanted was a manicure. It's the Cooke.
It's the Ernie. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Rick pumps Ernie's third hand. Disturbing. The myth X-ray checker points to Rick's large carry-on bag as it emerges from the X-ray machine.
Mr. Coogan, is this your bag?
Yeah, why?
Is this your kid?
He indicates the X-ray monitor, where we see the skeleton outlined of a bucktooth, bespectacled 10-year-old kid curled up in Rick's bag. The kid waves. Rick and Ernie look at each other in horror.
Stewie Gluck!
The bag bursts open and out pops Stewie Gluck, an obsessive young photographer autograph hound toting a stack of scrapbooks and memorabilia.
Rick, look, I got a rare still from your high school production of the Glash Menagerie. Could you sign it for me, please?
No! Get the hell out of here!
Ernie nods and yanks the bag away from under Stewie. They run away down the corridor. Stewie chases them, holding up an 8x10 photo.
Rick, wait up!
Further down the corridor, Rick and Ernie run around a corner with Stewie in pursuit.
Rick, remember the speech you gave at the Actors Forum for social justice?
He holds up a cassette player and hits play. It's Rick's old speech.
If all the world is a stage, then let us shine the spotlight on truth, integrity, and deep compassion for all life. Ah, leave me alone, you troll! That was before I got an entertainment lawyer.
Quick, down here.
Ernie leads Rick down an adjacent hallway. In the hallway, it's a dead end. Rick and Ernie are trapped. Ernie gives Rick a sheepish look. Stewie stands at the entrance of the hallway. He holds up a Time magazine.
Rick, it says here Noxon's dangerous. Why are you lending your name to it? What's happened to you, Rick? You used to be good, and now I just don't know.
Stewie starts to cry. Rick looks guilty.
Don't cry, Stewie. I'm still good.
Bam! A passing electric baggage cart nails Stewie at full speed and carries him off down the corridor, screaming bloody murder.
All right!
Rick and Ernie high five. Cut to interior first class cabin day. A sexy stewardess pours champagne for Rick and Ernie. The anarchist sits nearby with the bomb on his lap. Rick winks suggestively at the stewardess. She walks off, obviously not interested. Rick raises his glass to Ernie, oozing sleazy confidence.
In the bag.
The plane hits turbulence, and Rick's drink flies out of his glass. He catches it as it comes down. Another stewardess helps the anarchist put his bomb in the overhead compartment. Ernie oogles her. She sneers at him. We hear the captain's voice on a loudspeaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. To the right of aircraft, you can see the great view of the Grand Canyon. All the passengers crane their necks to the right. And to the left, you can see a panic-stricken little troll. Rick turns to his window and flings open the shade to reveal Stewie on the wing, pressing his face against the glass. He's holding up a publicity shot of Rick and screaming something we can't hear.
Ah!
Stewie loses his grip and is whisked off the wing. Rick watches him fall into oblivion. Relieved, he turns nonchalantly to Ernie, ignoring the other horrified passengers.
You gonna eat your peanuts, Ernie?
Yeah, you can have them.
Cut to exterior farm day. A large haystack sits in the middle of a field. We hear Stewie approaching screams. Thud. Stewie misses the haystack by a few feet. He hops to his feet and dusts himself off.
Hey, I'm okay.
Bonk. His scrapbook falls into frame and beans him. He's a resilient one. Cut to exterior Santa Flan Airport Day. We see the airliner lowering its landing gear as it makes its final approach to the runway.
Here we are, Ernie. Santa Spam. World famous for loud music and hot sex.
It is?
Yeah, give me a few hours.
Kablooey! The plane explodes in a fireball. Swish pan to reveal Rick and Ernie. Stranded just outside the airport, a porter follows with their bags.
Sure glad that wasn't our plane.
Ernie nods. They're distracted by the sound of chanting. They squint into the distance where they see a group of chanting protesters, young Save the Earth types, Latter-day hippies, kids, seniors, etc.
Yes, what does it say? Take your toxic crap away.
Yes, mustn't say. Take your toxic crap away.
Some of their signs read, Say no to Noxon. Coogan, go home. EES is killing our earth. Ricky Coogan sucks shit. This one is held by a nice little girl. I like Ike, held by a confused old man shuffling around aimlessly. Drink Pepsi. And finally, Free Nelson Mandela. We widen to reveal the subheading inside specially marked boxes. We keep widening to reveal that this is not on a protest pay card, but a box of cereal some guy is eating as he watches the protest.
Jesus, we better find the limo before the whale kissers chop us up and sell us for parts. Ah, there it is.
Off to the side, away from the protesters, is an unmarked limo with tinted windows and the plates that say not EES awaits. Kevin and EES executive lean out the window and wave discreetly at Ricky. The stewardess, looking tipsy, wave their bras out the back window invitingly. Ernie tries to grab Ricky by the arm, but he resists. He's looking at the protesters.
Wait a second.
His point of view, a beautiful young woman standing in the center of the crowd of protesters, holding a megaphone to her mouth and chanting. She puts down the megaphone to rest, and we can see that she's powerfully beautiful in a no-nonsense, feminist kind of way. This is Julie. Rick is smitten.
Let's go, Rick. They're waiting.
Forget him. I got a better idea. If I can just find the right disguise.
Cooke, those hippies will tear us apart.
Rick spots a heavily bandaged man limping out of the airport on crutches. Rick approaches him, waving a roll of bills.
Hey, how'd you like to make a quick $100?
The man mutters something weakly. Ernie puts his ear up close to hear him better.
He says the pants don't usually come off for less than $250, but since you're so cute, he'll make an exception.
Flip to Rick, buried beneath rolls and rolls of bandages, making his way through the protesters on crutches. Ernie helps him along nervously. As Rick spots Julie from behind, he hands the crutches over to Ernie.
Here.
Ernie takes the crutches. Rick waves his arms dramatically, clutches his bandaged leg, and winces in pain.
Help! Ah, give me back my crutches, you monster! Ah, the pain! Ah, the agony!
He falls theatrically at Julie's feet.
Are you okay? Let me help you.
Thanks. Don't worry about me. What's one man's pain weighed against the global injustice of corporate tyrants like EES? Go! The fight must continue.
Julie's buying it big time. How? She gazes deep into Rick's eyes.
Wow. My name's Julie.
Josh Trapner.
Ernie sticks out a hand, grinning sarcastically.
Mother Teresa, glad to meet you.
Julie turns on Ernie viciously. She slaps him hard and grabs the crutches from him.
Ow, hey!
Give me those, ape. Help him up.
Rick rises to his feet, painfully.
Josh, a busload of us are headed over to Maracas to protest Knox in 24 and pelt Ricky Coogan with cow shit.
Same here. You can ride with us.
Us? You're with him?
She looks at Ernie, who grins stupidly.
Oh, he's okay. You ever heard of an idiot savant?
Sure.
Well, that's Ernie, except for the savant part.
Ernie glares at Rick. Rick smiles at Julie hopefully. Julie looks back at both of them and can't help smiling herself. Cut to interior car day. Ernie drives the battered old convertible, which bears the proud logo of Santa Flan Rent-A-Car. There's a Pepsi billboard in the background. Julie massages Rick in the back seat.
Oh, my pelvis.
Is this better?
Ernie's point of view in the rear view mirror. Rick moans and cracks a huge grin through his bandages. Ernie tries to get in on the conversation.
Hey, Julie, I'm kind of an idea man myself. Like, let's say there's a nuclear war and the only two people left are you and the Pope. Would you book?
Disgusted, Julie smacks Ernie sharply and continues massaging Rick. Scowling with jealousy, Ernie tries a new approach.
But one thing's for sure. That Cooke guy sure is an asshole, huh?
I'll say, what a total piece of shit. Don't you think so, Josh?
Rick grits his teeth.
Well, he's got a few problems.
What a lousy actor. I mean, can you believe that hey dude crap?
Ooh, the script that bad, Cooke deserved an Oscar for coming off as good as he did. I mean, that's what I read.
Well, he's no Christian Slater.
Slater? I could act circles around that one-note hack. He was shitting his diapers when I was the toast of Broadway. I made grown men cry. I made crippled children laugh. Now all I hear is Slater, Slater, Slater. Well, Slater, kiss my ass. You hear me?
Enraged, Rick rips the bandages off his face.
You think Slater could improv like this? Make you believe he was an invalid? Huh?
Julie stares at him in shock. Rick catches his breath, realizing what he's just done, and smiles weakly. Ernie tries to break the awkward silence.
So, Julie, do you like Swedish films?
Julie gives him a murderous look. Fade to black. Fade up on exterior dirt highway later. High Y shot. The car is descending deeper into the wild jungle towards a huge eerie sunset. In the car, Julie's been lecturing Rick for some time now.
You don't even want to hear the truth about Noxon, do you, Coogan? I mean, look, I'm not saying this stuff is going to turn anyone into a...
Rick's point of view. On the road behind Julie, he sees a crude carnival billboard featuring a painting of a huge worm with a man's head. It reads, "See the incredible human worm." Only at Elijah C. Scuggs' famous freak land. Julie can't see it.
Human worm?
Right, a human worm. I mean, that's just stupid. The point is...
Rick sees another billboard for the freak show. This one features a half-man, half-dog creature and says, "See the outstanding dog boy."
Dog boy?
Yeah, or a dog boy. That's absurd, but...
Another billboard. This one features the hideous Frogman.
Hideous Frogman?
Okay, now you're just being silly. Human suffering's just a big joke to you, huh? Ugh, you're sick, Coogan.
She turns away from him in a huff and looks out her window. She sees a billboard that reads, "See the whole amazing family of freaks at Elijah C. Scuggs' famous Freakland and Mutant Emporium."
Cool. Freak show. Let's check it out.
Yeah, kind of like a family reunion for you, huh?
Lighten up, Cooke. Could be a goof.
Exterior jungle roadway. The car turns into a freakway driveway near a crude hand-painted sign that says "Freaks this way" with a messy arrow. We zoom in on the hand-painted small print on the bottom of the sign, which reads "Freaks" is a registered trademark of Elijah C. Scuggs Enterprises. Any unauthorized reproduction is strictly prohibited without prior written consent. Cut to exterior freaks compound. The car stops at the end of the long, spooky driveway, just past a sizzling electric fence. Rick, Julie, and Ernie get out and look around. It's eerie quiet. There is a large, dilapidated mining shed complete with rusted ducts and a tall smokestack. A tattered carnival tent with an ornate stage, flat facade, and lopsided outhouse. A creepy, broken down farmhouse, and in the center of it all, a giant molded carnival head with big staring eyes, which slowly rotates on a creaky base. Ernie looks hard at the big eyes. He turns away for a second, then spins around again. The eyes are looking in a different direction. Ernie shakes his head and unwraps a chocolate bar.
Isn't this great? It's so real.
Real stupid. Let's go. This place is dead.
Yeah, where are all the weirdos?
There are no weirdos here.
Startled, they turn to see Elijah C. Scuggs, a twisted, haggard old man. He takes a bite out of an ice cream cone, which contains the rear half of a chipmunk with a maraschino cherry on top. Elijah has bad teeth, a bad shave, and scary eyes. We now realize the giant head is molded in his image.
Mutants, yes. Genetic nightmares, definitely. Children of hell and twisted masses of living, breathing, tormented flesh, certainly. But as for weirdos, not a one. Unless, of course, you count me.
Nah, you seem like a regular dumb shit old redneck to me.
Elijah ignores him. Julie shoots him a look and smiles at Elijah.
I'm Julie. And you are?
Elijah C. Scuggs, proud proprietor of Scuggs' famous Freakland in Newton Emporium. But you knew that. After all, you ventured miles away from civilization, hospitals, telephones, police. How may I help you?
Drop dead.
Elijah smiles, unfazed. Julie stares at Rick. She smiles apologetically at Elijah.
We'd like to see your freak show. You see, only by appreciating the variety and innovation of nature can we come to respect the fragile complexity of our global ecosystem.
Elijah nods, nudges Ernie.
And you come to me looking for weirdos?
Ernie shrugs. He goes to take a bite out of his chocolate bar and finds only the empty wrapper left in his hand.
Hey, what the?
He looks behind him, and there, about 10 feet away, is a hulking, bald man, warts all over, squatting on the ground and chewing happily. This is Toad. Julie and Rick turn and see him.
Ew. Hello?
Toad doesn't respond to her waves.
Mr. Toad is my assistant. As for the show, I'm afraid the next parade of deformity isn't until tomorrow night.
Rick and Ernie pretend to be disappointed. They turn to leave. Julie's sincerely upset.
Oh, just our luck.
Elijah grabs Rick's shoulder and turns him around.
However, I do have a private exhibit in my shed you might enjoy. I don't usually share it with the general public.
We're deeply honored, but no thanks.
Yeah, we must really be.
He raises his cigarette to his lips, but it's gone. He turns to see Toad, 10 feet away behind him, puffing away happily. Elijah is already leading Julie towards the shed.
The sideshow tradition has been misrepresented by the media. You don't traffic in human misery. You show society the part of itself it doesn't want to look at.
Yes, I see.
He looks over to Rick and Ernie with a grin that says, "Where'd you find this nutty chick?" Rick shrugs and follows, taking Ernie with him.
What the heck? We'll see some pickled dog brains, maybe some pictures of women with the, added equipment.
I think we could be in the limo with those stewardesses.
Elijah holds the shed door open for them. It's pitch black inside. Julie enters. Rick and Ernie follow.
Yeah, what the hell, Cooke? These people are weird, but they seem nice enough.
A cute bunny sits outside the shed. Thwop! Toad lashes out with his 10-foot tongue and sucks the bunny into his mouth. He shuffles into the shed, crunching contentedly. Elijah closes the shed door in our face, grinning. We hear a long peal of an evil laughter from inside. You might want to get that looked at. Interior shed. It's dark and spooky. Elijah stands in a pool of light, reading a family circus cartoon in the funny pages.
Oh, God, I love the family circus. How do they do it day after day? It's amazing.
He turns to Rick, Julie, and Ernie. As Toad finishes strapping them into a massive Frankenstein-style operating tables, they struggle desperately against the straps.
Are you out of your mind?
Well, I guess they do use the same joke over and over. I'm just a sucker for that little Moffat's shenanigans, that's all. But perhaps I should tell you a little bit more about what I do. You see, I not only exhibit freaks, I make them. Just like Michelangelo saw the angel in the stone, I look at a guy like Kevin Costner and see a giant peach grub who can fart the blue Danube. Am I crazy or is it hot in here?
Rick, Julie, and Ernie shoot him a look that pretty well answers his question. Elijah shrugs and goes back to his spiel.
Behold, the Tasty Freaks machine.
He pulls a tarp off a huge, complicated machine. Several drums and vats of various chemicals feed through a crude network of pipes, gadgets, and computers into an old Tasty Freeze soft serve ice cream machine. The logo has been changed to Tasty Freaks. The biggest vat reads Noxon 24.
My God, he's using Noxon 24.
Hey, you're not supposed to have that stuff.
Oh, well then I guess I'm not supposed to have these either.
He holds up a matching towel and washcloth embroidered with the Ramada Inn logo. Rick, Julie, and Ernie gasp. He tosses the towels. As Elijah gets to work up into a frenzy, the ambience of the room becomes more and more horrific. The sunlight is replaced by an eerie green glow. A thunderstorm rumbles to life. A raven perches on the windowsill. A rat scurries across the floor. One of those plastic Bonnie Banks reaches out and grabs a quarter.
I need only punch a few buttons on this magnificent device, and it gives me an easy-to-apply ointment that will mutate a perfect young body, bubble its skin, warp its bones, and twist its guts into an unspeakably repulsive, stomach-turning freak of my own design.
Elijah's hair is now standing on end. He's foaming at the mouth, a bolt of lightning and a thunderclap. The monologue.
Wait a minute. Does this mean we're not going to see a show?
Toad, fire up that machine and let's turn these hapless ass wipes into monstrosities. Now let's see. Who wants to get freaked first?
Ladies first.
Go screw yourself.
If I were you, I would.
Toad is adjusting some knobs on the machine. Elijah steps past him to a jerry-rigged computer console. He punches some keys and some rotating DNA models appear on the monitor.
It's like yin and yang, AC/DC, two birds with one stone. Yeah, it's pretty darn good, really.
He presses enter and the computer beeps. He smiles.
Let her rip, Toad.
Toad yanks a Polestar cord and the machine rumbles to life. Elijah pulls the Tasty Freaks lever and fills a small dish with phosphorescent ointment. Toad cuts open their clothes, exposing their sides, and pushes them close together.
Wait a second. You're really going to swear that you're going to smear that stuff on us and mutate our body parts?
Correct.
Well, then can you give me a really big Rodney?
Ha, I'm a mad scientist, pal, not a miracle worker.
Elijah smears the ointment on their exposed sides. Their skin begins to bubble and undulate.
Oh, God, no!
Shit.
Holy shit! Ah!
A grapefruit-sized lump pops up on Ernie's side, then another on Julie's side, and then the lumps do a little synchronized dance together. Suddenly, Ernie's flesh balloons out and melds onto Julie's side. The mass of connected skin continues to bubble and mutate. Odd shapes press up under the skin. 4 human faces that quickly become Mount Rushmore. The Pepsi logo, this was obviously funded by Pepsi, the choice of a new generation. Julie and Ernie merge into one amorphous flesh blob, which then takes the form of demon version of Gumby and his magical horse, Pokey. Gumby's got his back to camera. He's grabbed his crotch and flipping everyone off.
Hey, Gumby, put that thing away.
Gumby and Pokey mutate back into the blob and then into Julie and Ernie, joined side to side, their heads on a single body, which is split down the middle, half Julie, half Ernie. Elijah wheels a large mirror in front of them.
Feast your eyes.
No.
Well, at least I don't have to go far for a piece of tail.
Pig.
She smacks him.
Ouch! I was just trying to keep things right. I was just trying to keep things light. Oh, God, why me?
He starts blubbering uncontrollably. Toad drags them towards the door.
Ugh, Mother always said there'd be days like this, and I thought she was nuts.
They exit. Elijah turns to Rick.
That was a mere party trick, but you're gonna be special.
Elijah steps over to the computer console and starts punching keys.
Let me go, Scuggs, or else. I got some friends that'll come down and mess you up bad, homie. I've got some other friends who can score you some box office seats at the Super Bowl, no problem. You ever had your balls cut off, you fucking ape? You ever take a hot fudge bath with Madonna?
You know her?
Rick nods hopefully. Elijah considers it for a moment, then frowns.
Nah, screw it. I'd never get anywhere with her. Toad, fire up that infernal yogurt machine.
Toad starts the machine. Elijah pulls the lever and dispenses a bowl full of glowing ointment. He carries it towards Rick, leering maniacally.
For years, I've sought to create the ultimate monster, the first of a whole new generation of super freaks. Now I finally got you, a perfect subject, a real asshole. Now, wait a minute. Aren't you the guy from Hey Dude 3, The Beguiling?
Yeah, that's me.
You were great in that picture. Oh, well, I guess for the next one, I'll have to get Christian Slater.
Elijah squishes the ointment into Rick's horrified face. Cut to exterior the lab night. The barn looks especially sinister, silhouetted against a big green moon. A huge ball of flame belches out of the smokestack. Dissolve to exterior the lab morning. It's eerily quiet in the dawn light. Interior lab, extreme close-up of Rick's eyes as it opens and searches the room frantically. Close up on Rick's hand, a normal hand, straining at the bonds. Rick's point of view groggily searches the lab. He picks up the blurred image of Elijah in the distance. He's on the phone, speaking in hushed tones.
This is Red Swan. May I speak to the laughing man? Yes, I'll hold.
For a moment, Elijah is entertained by hold music to the tune of Freak Out by Chic. A man's laughing voice comes on the other end of the line. It laughs throughout the conversation.
Laughing man. This is Red Swan. I've done it. I found the perfect subject. Huge ego, shallow personality, almost no moral values. A lawyer, no, better. An actor. Yeah, the guy from those hilarious Hey Dude movies.
Laughing man has stopped laughing. Elijah dummies up.
Well, I liked him.
Laughing man resumes laughing. Elijah listens intently.
Right, yes, I see. But that's just it. He's not quite finished. I need more Noxon so I can...
Laughing man laughs so loudly that he breaks my eardrum, and Elijah has to hold the phone away.
Jeez, what a grouch.
Over on the slab, Rick groans. He's waking up. Elijah notices.
Oh, laughing man, I have to go. What about the Noxon? 2 days? Great, you can see everything there. Yeah, you take it easy too.
Elijah hangs up the phone and strides over towards Rick. Wakey.
Time to meet and greet the new you.
Huh?
He flips the slab right side up and holds up a mirror. Rick's eyes widen in terror as he beholds his hideous new form. Rick's left half has been transformed into a hideous, bug-eyed monster. Cut to exterior lab morning. Bang! The doors fly open. Elijah drags Rick out, horrified. Rick clutches the monster side of his face.
Oh my God, this was my good side!
It still is, if you ask me. Hell, even half done, you'll be the star of the show tonight.
Oh.
Elijah stops in front of the tiny outhouse.
Welcome to your spacious accommodations.
He unlocks the door and drags Rick in. Interior outhouse. Oddly, the interior is a vast barracks, 50 feet long and 30 feet high. Rick looks around.
Great use of the space.
Oh, well, I learned it all from Bob Vila.
Bob Vila walks up next to Elijah.
Bob?
You know you could expose those rustic beams and put in a skylight over one weekend, Elijah.
Ah, give it a rest, Bob.
He pushes Bob away into the freak house, gives Rick a goodbye wink, and walks out the door. Exterior outhouse. Elijah pauses and looks at the tiny outhouse.
You know, one of these days I gotta put a shitter in there.
Bob Vila steps out of nowhere again, holding a Time Life book.
No problem. It's all here in my beds and bathrooms book, Elijah, and you pay nothing for the...
Bonk. Elijah knocks him out cold with a ball-peen hammer from his tool belt. Interior freak house. It takes a few moments for Rick's eyes to adjust to the dim light. There's nobody in sight. The walls are lined with dark cubicles, stacked atop each other with walkways like prison cells. Rick staggers to his feet, makes his way forward.
Ernie? Julie?
Over here, Cooke.
All right.
Rick sees the vague outline of Julie Ernie a few yards away.
I know that voice. That's the voice that said, "Cool, a freak show, let's check it out."
Wait. What? Oh, sure. Blame the woman. Typical.
It's so real. Just real enough for you. I'm freaking Quasimodo.
Yeah, chill out, Cooke. You're talking to the original tag team of Ugly Pukes. Step into the light.
Okay, here I come.
Rick steps forward into a pool of light. Julie and Ernie are caught by surprise. Julie struggles to keep her composure. Ernie's repulsed.
Oh!
Ernie turns away and pukes on the floor. Julie soldiers on.
Oh, geez. It's not so revolting. After all, physical beauty is just a socially enforced myth that we, oh shit.
Julie turns away and pukes on the floor.
Yeah, well, you're no Mona Lisa's yourself. You're lucky I got a strong stomach.
You're lucky I don't bite you.
Rick wheels around to see Juan, the dog boy, snickering behind him. Juan is a hairy young Mexican with a snout, dog ears, and canine teeth. Scrappy-Doo with an attitude. Rick assumes a threatening pose.
Get away from me, you...
Freak. I am Juan, the dog boy, leader of the freaks.
Kind of the top dog?
Juan scratches himself behind the ear with his hind leg. Impressive.
Welcome to hell, Rick. Shake?
He extends a hand to Rick. Rick doesn't take it. He hears a slight rustling noise from the direction of the cubicles and turns to look around the apparently empty freak house.
No thanks. I don't plan on staying long. How many of you are in here anyway?
Juan shrugs mischievously and sticks out his snout in Rick's face.
First, I have a question for you, Ricardo. Who starred in the film International Velvet?
Huh?
Well, perhaps we should ask the worm.
The top right cubicle lights up, revealing the worm. He is a man with no arms and legs and the wrinkly, slimy body of a worm. His face is learned looking with spectacles, a small goatee, and a pipe which he puffs on pompously.
Tell us, Worm, who starred in the International Velvet?
Alice in Wonderland's caterpillar says he puffs pensively on his pipe for a second.
Yes. Very interesting. International Velvet. The perfectly appalling sequel to National Velvet, I believe. No dramatic verisimilitude whatsoever.
Yes, Worm, but who was the star?
The worm takes a long, thoughtful drag on his pipe.
Olivia de Havilland.
Olivia de Havilland. Rick, do you agree or disagree?
This is nuts! This is crazy! Besides, it was Tatum O'Neal.
Very good. It was Tatum O'Neal, now married to the tennis star John McEnroy. Circle gets the square.
The lights come on in 9 of the center cubicles, silhouetting 9 freaks in a full-size Hollywood Squares 3x3 layout. The freaks applaud Rick's success. He's incredulous.
Yeah!
Worm nudges an O into place in his cubicle with some difficulty. He's not happy about being proved wrong.
Blast! O'Neal. No talent ragamuffin.
Okay, Giuliani, your turn. Who's it gonna be?
As Juan names the freaks one by one, their squares highlighted and they wave at Rick cheerily.
Nosy the Nose Man.
Nosy is a man whose massive nose dominates his head. He blows into a huge hanky and waves it wearily at Rick.
Cowboy.
Cowboy is a young boy with a cow-like features, a cowboy hat, cowboy clothes, and a full set of udders.
The Bearded Lady.
The Bearded Lady is a big, tough, bearded man in a blouse. He has lipsticks, earrings, and tattoos on his muscular arms.
How you doing?
Sockhead.
Shockhead is a freak with a large button-eyed sock puppet for a head. He's munching cookies, which spill uselessly out of his throatless sock mouth.
The Human Torch.
The Human Torch is a man engulfed in flames. He waves apathetically.
Rosie the Pinhead.
Rosie is a pinhead in dark sunglasses. She has a great bod jammed into a sexy dress. She smokes a cigarette demurely and waves a small, arrogant, big star wave.
The Hideous Frogman.
Frogman is just a guy in a scuba outfit. He strikes a threatening monster pose, then gives a friendly wave.
And of course, in the center square, Mr. Ball Lind.
Suddenly, the lightning changes to flash red horror lights and plenty of dark shadows. There's a horrific music sting, and we zoom into a decomposing skeleton in the center cubicle. Its eyeball drips out of its socket.
Well, Julie Ernie, who will it be?
Well, call me old-fashioned, but I'll go with Paul Lynde.
Don't be an idiot.
They argue back and forth, hitting and poking each other, Three Stooges style. Juan turns to Rick.
You see, Rick? Just because we're freaks doesn't mean we can't have some fun, huh?
Rick is overwhelmed by it all. He backs away.
Get away from me! Get away! I'm not like you, you hear me? I'm Ricky Coogan. I'm not a freak!
The freaks laugh in Rick's face. He storms off. Dissolve to another area of the freak house. A little later, Rick sits in a corner pondering his fate. Oddly, there's a shiny new Pepsi machine in his dingy corner of the freak house. Julie Ernie approach him.
Okay, Cooge. So I get 24-hour access to TNA, and you look like a plate of rancid giblets. We're still pals, right?
Rick shoots him a look.
All the freaks have gone through this anguish, Rick. At first, I was blinded by my anger. I admit it. I wanted to break your neck for getting me into this, but I got over it. Juan taught me to channel my anger for the common good.
It's your fault anyway. You wanted to see the freak show.
I thought I told you to shut up.
She tries to wring his neck. Ernie helps. Rick glares at Ernie.
Ernie?
Oh, sorry, Cooge. For a second there, I was a total man-hater. Weird.
Julie regains her cool. She takes out a pamphlet, scribbles something on it, and hands it to Rick.
Here, take it.
Rick examines the cover. He reads it aloud.
So you're a hideous mutant freak. Now what?
There's an 8 scribbled on the pamphlet.
We're in cubicle 8. Maybe later you'll be ready to talk.
Forget it, not me. I'm not like those other godforsaken animals.
He throws the pamphlet to the ground. Just as the worm, bearded lady, and Shockhead approach, they sit down in a circle around him. The worm looks down at the pamphlet and puffs thoughtfully on his pipe.
You're mistaken, Rick. You are exactly like us. We were all normal, healthy folk before we made the fateful mistake of visiting this hellhole at an off hour. Why, when I first came here...
Wavy flashback. Dissolve to X-tier freak compound. The past. The worm, as an Oxford professor, is wandering around the grounds, taking notes and puffing on his pipe.
I was a professor of lacrophology, the study of worms, of course. I came in search of the Ipsosophici Delepsidae, in layman terms, the fat, pudgy worm. Mr. Scuggs said he had just such a worm in his shed. How could I have surmised that the specimen and I would ultimately prove to be one and the same?
We see Professor Worm meet Elijah and follow him into the lab. The smokestack belches a plume of flames as we hear his off-camera screams. Dissolve back to Freak House now. The worm finishes his tale.
At first, the transformation was fabulous. I truly understood the worm's ethos like nothing before. But those early days of fascination are over. Now, in retrospect, I think the whole thing is a fucking headache. I'd sell my soul just to be able to wipe my own ass.
He sniffles a little, but manages to hold back the tears. We pan to Shockhead.
I first came here as a tourist, looking for some fun.
Flashback, dissolve to X-tier Freakland then. A lanky tourist, obviously Sockhead in better days. He approaches Elijah.
Anyway, then Elijah turned me into a sock. That's it.
In-tier Freak House now. Sockhead shrugs apologetically.
Sorry, I'm not much for stories.
The camera moves in on the bearded lady.
When I arrived here, I was nothing like I am now.
Flashback, dissolve to X-tier Freakland then. The bearded lady, as a man, steps out of the cab of his 8-wheeler. He looks very much like he does now, except he has no lipstick or earrings.
I was confused, a walking contradiction, so full of questions.
In-tier Freak House now. He finishes his story.
Now I know who I am. I can say, hey world, this is me. I'm a woman, and I like me.
The others look at the bearded man uneasily. The camera pans past the bearded lady and moves in on an ordinary hammer lying on the ground. Flashback, dissolve to interior hardware store day. Happy music. The hammer is placed on a shelf by a friendly stock boy. The music turns tense as Elijah appears and scans the shelf. He makes eye contact with the hammer and smiles. He grabs the hammer roughly and shoves it in a plastic bag. Darkness. X-tier Freakland then. The bag opens. Elijah reaches in and takes out the hammer. The music turns to a psycho-like string stabs as Elijah uses the hammer to smash in a nail. In-tier Freak House now. Everyone looks at the hammer sympathetically. Rick turns away to wipe a tear from his eye.
You're one of us now, Rick, whether you admit it or not. It's irrefutable.
Yeah, says you.
The worm shakes his head. The freaks turn and head back to their cubicles. Rick exchanges a look with Julie before she and Ernie turn and head off. Rick is left alone, staring pensively at the hammer. Time dissolved to hours later. Rick is still staring at the hammer. He picks it up and stares at it more closely. Time dissolved to hours later. Rick is Still staring at the damn hammer, he nods with resolve.
You're right.
He spots the pamphlet on the ground, picks it up, dusts it off. He opens it and begins to read under the heading 1. It's fun being ugly. Rick closes the pamphlet, looks at number 8, Julie scribbled, and nods with a sense of purpose. Standing up, he throws the hammer carelessly aside into the muck and walks towards the cubicles. Cut 2. Interior Freakhouse Day. Rick walks past the cubicles. In one, the bearded lady knits a sweater. He reaches cubicle 8 and is about to speak when he hears Julie giggling. There's a man's voice, but not Ernie's. It's Juan. Rick peeks around and sees Julie scratching Juan's belly. He licks her face happily and giggles with delight. Ernie is reading The Woman's Room, trying not to notice all of this. Rick watches disgusted. He tears up the pamphlet, throws it to the ground, and storms off to find his own cubicle. Ernie peeks at Julie and Juan continuing their foreplay. Juan stops abruptly.
Hey, mind your business.
Sorry.
Ernie turns to his book. The camera pans up to Rick's cubicle. He's sitting on his cot, distractedly whittling a log with his knife-like talon. He talks to himself, making sure to be loud enough for Julie, Ernie, and Juan to hear.
Well, that EES guy should rescue me any minute. Then it's straight to the plastic surgeon and back to sunny old LA. I wonder how many of my beautiful, anatomically correct girlfriends will be waiting for me.
I'll be waiting for you, Rick.
Thanks, Stewie.
Rick looks up and sees a holographic image of Stewie Gluck floating in the air above him.
Ah! A phantom troll!
He swings the log wildly at the hologram, but it keeps darting around, dodging the blow. Cowboy leans around the cubicle wall. He talks a lot like Gomer Pyle. Seen the phantom trolls, Rick?
No.
Rick stops swinging, lamely pretends he is stretching, ignores Stewie, who hovers around him. Sounds to me like you've developed a telepathic bond. Don't mean you're nuts or nothing. Heck, old nosy why he can smell the furniture. Lots of us freaks got ESP, and Sockhead, he's got ESPN. He points at Sockhead, who's watching pro wrestling on a portable TV.
Watch out! Hulk! He's gonna try the skullcracker!
Shucks, Rick. You're lucky. Telepathy like yours only occurs between real soulmates. A bond like that should be cherished. Cowboy smiles and ducks back into his own cubicle.
Wow, I'm Ricky Coogan's soulmate.
In your dreams. Get lost, troll!
He swings wildly at the hologram, which starts to break up and fade away.
Wait till I tell the kids at school.
Stewie disappears. Cowboy leans into Rick's cubicle again. Schnookums, Rick. It don't make sense to spurn your soulmate. I reckon that your troll could help you if you just let him into your heart. Rick scoffs at him and starts whittling again. Cut to interior Stewie's room day. It's a cramped room filled with Ricky Coogan's memorabilia. Stewie is drawing a crude sketch of Rick on a pad. This sequence is set to brassy man on a mission music.
Once America sees what happened to Ricky, they'll probably send the whole FBI down to save him.
Cut to interior LA Times hallway. Stewie marches towards a frosted glass door that reads, The Los Angeles Times.
I'll probably win a Pulitzer Prize for this scoop, and I'll dedicate it to Rick.
He walks through the door. Beat. Smash. He comes flying out through the glass and lands on his butt. The Time magazine door. Smash. Stewie flies out through it. The USA Today door. Smash. Stewie flies out through it. The Weekly World News door. We see Stewie and an editor silhouetted against the glass.
Of course I'll print it. America needs to know. Bert, give me Mr. Gluck his fee. Give Mr. Gluck his fee and show him out.
That's okay. I know the way.
Smash! Stewie dives through the glass door. Cut to exterior newsstand day. Stewie proudly reads the weekly world news. The front page features Stewie's story and his sketch of Rick.
Freaky Deaky, Freaky Coogan's a mutant in South America by Stuart S. Gluck. That's me.
Suddenly, two goons in dark suits snatch the paper away from Stewie. They grab him and force him into a limousine. Interior limousine. The goons hold Stewie in between them. He's terrified. We hear the low, menacing chuckle of the laughing man, who's off screen. The camera is his point of view.
Sure, I wrote the article, but you got it all wrong. I don't know anything about that. You gotta believe me.
The limo cruises off down the streets. We hear a power drill. Stewie screams, and a laughing man hearty crackle from inside. Cut to interior Rick's cubicle night. Rick has whittled his log down to a toothpick. He admires it and leans over and fits it into the intricate 3-foot scale model of the Eiffel Tower, made entirely out of toothpicks. The Human Torch walks by.
Wow, that's a great model. But look, this one's crooked.
He reaches out to fix it and woof, the whole model burns to a cinder. Rick looks at him hatefully.
Sorry.
Elijah steps into the freak house.
All right, freaks, get ready for the glamour. Get ready for the glitz. Get ready to be pelted with rotten vegetables because it's showtime.
Cut to exterior carnival tent. Elijah, looking natty, and his ringmaster suit stands at the entrance, barking to various people who are drifting in.
It's grisly. It's revolting. It'll make you wish you were dead. And at just $12 a head, you can bring all the kids.
We follow a kindly father through a curtained entrance. Oof. He collapses, a knife embedded in his chest, revealing the total mayhem. Inside the tent, the motley crowds, locals, sleazy-looking monsters, rogue bikers, wayward hippies, and Japanese tourists, etc. It's brawling and drinking and having a heck of a time. Some small displays and a few carnival booths are set up around the sides of the tent. There's a petting zoo where a kid is petting a two-tailed, no-headed dog. And there's a heavy petting zoo where a guy is French kissing a six-legged goat. A clown sits in a dunk tank, heckling the customers. The sign says, "Dunk me in acid."
Come on, my granny can throw better than you.
He's talking to an old lady who throws a baseball, hits the target, and dunks the clown into the foaming bath of carbolic acid. We hear his gurgling screams. Then his bony hand reaches up out of the bath. Elijah walks out on stage and looks at the rowdy audience. It's total mayhem.
Quiet, please.
Everyone instantly sits down, shuts up, and looks up obediently at Elijah.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to witness a cavalcade of atrocities so horrific, I advise the more sensitive members of our audience to leave the premises.
Two sensitive-looking men wearing sweaters draped over their shoulders politely get up and leave.
Tonight, I'm proud to announce the addition of several new monstrosities to the show, including our star attraction, the Beast Boy, an untamed and highly dangerous ghoul who's liable to go nuts and kill us all at the drop of a hat. But first, prepare to behold an unspeakably repulsive yet heartwarming atrocity, 3 men and a baby.
3 men and a baby, all fused into a single multi-limbed freak, walk out on stage. One of its arms holds up a dirty diaper, and all the 3 men hold their noses and grimace. The audience breaks into a warm-hearted laughter and applause. Backstage, the freaks mill around in the cage in a green room, guarded by Toad. Frogman, dressed in a magician's outfit over his wetsuit, holds an empty dove cage and searches the room, whistling for his missing dove. Nosy sneezes up a cloud of feathers. Julie Ernie walks determinedly towards the adjacent men's and women's restroom. Bonk! They hit the wall between the two doors. Rick is reading his script, rehearsing his lines. He's wearing a cheesy jungle costume.
I am Beast Boy. I will eat you. Can't do this shit.
He peers through the bars, scanning the audience for signs of a rescue party.
Damn it, what is keeping those guys?
The worm creeps up behind Rick.
Something's troubling you, my boy. What is it?
Well, let's see. I've been kidnapped, hideously disfigured, imprisoned with a bunch of mutant freaks. My rescue party is MIA, and this dialogue makes Hey Dude 3 read like Dr. Zhivago.
I think I know what you're going through. I too had an eating disorder. You see, I've always had a feverish obsession with pudding. And when I was a young lad...
Rick groans and looks out at the audience. Elijah on stage.
And now a perennial favorite here at Freakland, ladies and gentlemen. I know you'll all enjoy the musical stylings of Rosie the Pinhead.
Rosie the Pinhead struts out wearing a sexy dress and holding a microphone. After the applause dies down, she whips off her sunglasses with a flourish, revealing her extremely goofy-looking crossed eyes. She wails incomprehensibly and bonks her head with the mic. A series of wipes show bits of various acts as the evening wears on. Ernie, Julie are doing a Vanderval style stand-up routine while tap dancing. Vaudeville, sorry.
Hey, Julie, how many feminists does it take to screw in a light bulb?
How many?
2. 1 to screw it and 1 to ride my Ronnie.
Ugh.
She bonks him with their cane. He bonks her back. She knocks him out cold. They both fall down. The bearded lady is doing a makeover demonstration. He's got a local girl from the audience sitting at a makeup table on stage.
If your coloring is in the autumn range like Maria's, try an earth tone eye makeup. Now I've done a lovely French braid on Maria, but I encourage everyone to experiment and use your imagination. The main thing is to just have fun.
The audience is engrossed. Some take notes. Sockhead is ringing those tuned bells and singing along.
Edelweiss, Edelweiss.
He takes a bow, but his sock is snagged on the mic stand. It pulls off and reveals a normal-sized hand where the sock head was. He's actually a hand head. The audience gasps. A man gets up and points accusingly.
He's got a hand under there.
It's a hoax.
Sockhead realizes he's unveiled and tries to hide his hand head with his other hands. The crowd starts jeering and pelting Sockhead with rotten vegetables. He gives them the finger with all 3 hands. Elijah tries to calm them.
Puppeteering is an admirable skill in its own right. Give him his due.
Where's the Beast Boy at Providence? Bring on the Beast Boy! We want the Beast Boy!
Yeah, we want the Beast Boy.
Backstage, the worm is still talking to Rick. We can hear the crowd screaming for him in the background.
And when I won first prize, they never called me Puddinghead again.
So?
Don't you see? You must turn your hardship into inspiration. You're an actor, Rick. Your body is your instrument, and with it you must play your tragic symphony for all the world.
Rick is really moved. Elijah pokes his head backstage.
They're going nuts for you, Beast Boy. You better go out there now.
He starts to take off his jungle costume.
I'll be right there. Thank you, Worm. I don't really know how I can repay you for this.
Wipe my ass.
Always with the wit, eh, Worm?
Rick claps him on the back and walks off. Worm is disappointed.
Damn. Nosy, have I ever told you what a gifted artist you are?
Nosy gives a worried look. On stage, the spotlight reveals Rick. Center stage, poised in Shakespearean garb. The Crowd quiets down and focuses on Rick with great respect and awe, a truly dramatic silence. Rick pauses for effect, then launches into a soliloquy with bravado.
Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by the son of York. But I that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking glass, I that am curtailed in this fair proportion, cheated of feature by disassembling nature.
The audience is riveted. Even Spanish-speaking peasants are mouthing the words. Elijah, however, thumbs through his script totally confused. The freaks watch through the bars of the wings completely engrossed, especially Julie. Juan notices this and pulls her closer to him, but she pushes him away. We move to an elder-like British gentleman in the crowd. By God, it's Alistair Cooke. He turns to camera, subtitles, Alistair Cooke.
If you're having trouble understanding Mr. Coogan's brilliant reading of this soliloquy from Richard III, please take advantage of the handy subtitles for the culturally illiterate.
A filthy peasant sitting next to Cooke is trying to listen to Rick. He turns angrily to Cooke. Cooke turns back to the stage. The words in brackets appear as subtitles.
Deformed, unfinished, sent before my time.
I'm ugly.
Into this breathing world, scarce half made up.
I'm really ugly.
And that's so lamely and unfashionable that dogs bark at me as I halt by them.
I'm fucking but ugly, all right?
Why, I, in this weak piping time of peace,
blah, blah, blah,
have no delight to pass away the time.
I never get laid.
Unless to see my shadow in the sun and decant on mine own deformity.
Because I'm ugly. Rick bows. The crowd bursts into applause. They yell, bravo, bravo, and throw bouquets. Rick takes several curtain calls. The freaks cheer for him. Julie is particularly moved. She and Rick exchange a heavy look laden with romantic potential. Note, we will insert an almost subliminal one-frame shot of the Pepsi logo at this triumph moment. Kevin, the EES executive from the airport scene, walks into the tent. Rick sees him and gasps with joy. He leaps off the stage, runs to Kevin, and hugs him. Kevin is shocked, of course. Overcome by the moment, Rick regresses to his old self.
I'm saved! You sorry mutants are gonna rot in this hole while I'm sipping mint Choules by the pool!
As misfortune smiles over your fate, so destiny spurns your accursed pate. The freaks in the audience gasp at Rick's cruelty. Julie is shocked. Juan gives her an I told you so look. Rick sees Julie and catches himself.
I mean, I hope you have room for all my friends.
Rick, listen, I really love this new look you've come up with, but just between you and me, I don't think the guys upstairs would really get it.
What are you saying?
I'm saying you're ugly enough to burn the nose hairs off a dead nun.
The crowd bursts into cruel hysterics, pointing mockingly at Rick. Even Alistair Cooke is practically choking with laughter.
What a putz!
Rick looks around horrified at the sea of evil, jeering faces. He begins to tremble. Then, Rick's monster eye springs to life for the first time and glows red with rage. His whole monster side awakens and takes charge of his body with violent intensity. He grabs Kevin's head, screams in a new monstrous voice.
Shirt!
Pop! He plucks Kevin's head off his neck and holds it aloft. The head stares down at Rick in disbelief.
Now you're just being childish.
Rick serves the head like a volleyball, smashing it into bits. The crowd panics and charges for the exit.
Help us out of here!
People are trampling over each other in the mayhem. Alistair Cooke is crushed under the stampede. The freaks are horrified. Monster Rick growls triumphantly. Elijah looks on, intrigued.
Now that's entertainment.
Interior freak house morning. Rick awakens with a start and gets up. He approaches Julie, Ernie, the bearded lady, Nosy, and Dog Boy, who are idly playing a game of Wheel of Fortune. The cubicles contain large blank blocks like the letters of the game show. So far, there's a D, 2 S's, and a K revealed. Rosie the Pinhead plays Vanna White's role.
I'd like to buy a vowel.
The bearded lady yawns. Rick edges towards them.
Hey, the wheel. Mind if I sit in?
Juan advances towards Rick, sneering.
So, now you don't mind mixing with us. How did you say, sorry, mutants?
Look, I'm sorry for what happened in the show. Can't you just forget it?
He shakes his finger at Juan and notices there's still a human nose stuck on his monster claw. He wipes it off, embarrassed. There's a awkward pause. Ernie breaks the silence.
Hey, shouldn't you tell Rick about your big escape plan?
Juan gives Ernie a nasty shut up look. He growls at him.
Well, excuse me for living.
You have an escape plan?
Listen, Beast Boy, the games are a simple diversion. Beneath our twisted flesh, we freaks cry out for freedom. Arr!
Juan howls lustily. He looks to the rest of the freaks. They're a pathetic lot, and their half-hearted howl proves it.
Oh.
Beat.
Juan's plan is really ingenious, Rick. See, he figured out
I figured out that when our escape does not include the Beast Boy, no one may discuss the plan with him. Understand?
Juan gives the others a threatening look. They mumble agreement.
What's the matter with all of you? You trust your lives to a guy just because he can lick his own privates?
We got to admit, Cooke, it's a hell of a
The freaks ponder this a second, then nod. Yeah.
We got to admit, Cooke, it's a hell of a trick.
Fine. I'll just come up with an escape plan of my own then.
I've spent a year studying this hellhole, devising the perfect escape. You think you'll do the tango right out the door? Just try it, amigo.
I will.
Rick turns to go. Julie Ernie rush over and try to reason with him quietly.
Rick, wait.
Yeah, don't go off half-cocked. Believe me, it ain't all it's cracked up to be.
This isn't one of your dumb movies, Coogan. Look, Juan's a good dog, a smart dog. I'll talk to him. Don't be stupid, Rick. You can't do it without us.
Forget it. I don't need you, EES, or anybody else. I get out of here all by myself. You crud-sucking pus monkeys.
Ding, ding, ding. The letters of the Wheel of Fortune board light up and Rosie turns them over to reveal crud-sucking pus monkeys as the secret phrase. Everyone claps despite themselves. Juan stares them down. They stop. Rick storms off in a huff. Juan takes Julie's hand and gazes deep into her eyes. He kisses her passionately. Julie is watching Rick leave. Juan nibbles her neck, which gets her attention. She scratches Juan behind the ears. His leg instinctively kicks the air. Ernie looks worried.
Getting a bad feeling here.
Cut to interior rear corner of Freak House Day. Out of sight from the others, Rick approaches the rear door and tries it. It doesn't open from the inside.
Damn.
He peers out through a crack in the door and sees a milkman getting out of his truck in the driveway.
Psst. Hey, you. Milkman.
Outside, the milkman looks over at the outhouse, suspicious. Yeah?
Just the man I'm looking for. Be a pal and give me a hand, will you?
Oh, no. I know you freaks. You'll try anything to just get someone to open the door. Well, not me. Ha! He's about to walk away.
Okay. Guess I'll just have to milk the world's biggest breasted woman all by myself. Sorry to bother you.
The milkman stops in his tracks. He tiptoes over to the back door of the outhouse, listening intently as Rick goes into his act.
Oh, milk me now, milk me hard. I've only got 2 hands, all right? Geez, I don't care if Elijah did give you skim milk on the right, chocolate on the left, and eggnog in the middle.
The milkman is salivating at the door. Gee, I love eggnog. The milkman opens the door eagerly and steps inside. Beat. Hey, what the bonk? We hear the sounds of bottled buttermilk beating his soft noggin. Rick walks out wearing the milkman outfit, complete with the little 6 milk bottle carrier thing. He looks around and heads for the milk truck, whistling casually. He notices something. It's the giant Elijah head. Its big eyes are staring at Rick. Note, there's a Skyrider plane in the distance behind the head, which finishes writing, "You got the right one, baby. Pepsi." Rick gets to the truck and tries the door. It's locked.
Shit!
He looks over at the giant head. The eyes are still staring at him. They seem to have shifted. Rick shrugs it off and looks around. He walks over to Elijah's car. It's locked too. He checks the big eyes. They've moved again. Rick's getting a bit desperate. He sees something else and runs towards it. It's a dry docked motorboat. It's locked too. The eyes have followed Rick again. He sees something else and runs over to it. It's a bag of golf clubs leaning against Elijah's porch. They're locked too.
Damn! This guy didn't trust anybody!
He looks at the giant head. The eyes are gone, leaving only empty sockets. Rick hears a burst of machine gun fire behind him, spins around and faces two 3-foot-high eyeballs with little arms and legs, wearing Jamaican Rasta hats and aiming smoking Uzi 9mm in the air. They aim their Uzis at Rick, one holding a walkie-talkie and the other holds a big spiff.
Ah!
A TV monitor in Elijah's hand shows Rick staring at us, the eye's point of view. Elijah, seen in extreme close-up, watches the surveillance monitor. He speaks into a microphone. We don't see what the room looks like.
Good work, I.
The eyes. Bob in response to Elijah. They have no mouths, but their pupils open and close when they speak.
Rastafari.
Now bring the Beast Boy to my den.
Rick looks worried as they lead him towards the scary-looking house. Interior, Elijah's den. It's a lovely suburban den with a coffee table full of magazines like Better Homes and Gardens, National Review, and Freaks Illustrated. Elijah sits in a big barraca lounger, smoking a pipe. Rick sits on the sofa. Toad walks up with a tray of soft drinks.
Diet soda?
No, thanks.
Elijah points to a bowl of fiddle faddle. Toad sits beside Rick.
Fiddle faddle? You sure?
Well, okay. Well, are you gonna torture me or kill me or something?
Torture, my greatest creation ever? Kill the final piece of the puzzle that I've been putting together for years? Sure, it'd be fun, but I've got a bigger plan, my boy. And when you ripped off that guy's head, I knew it was working like gangbusters.
But I thought I scared everyone away.
Uh-huh. And then they told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends, and so on and so on. Look at this.
Elijah grabs a big mailbag and spills some letters out on the table. Elijah opens one and reads it.
Dear Mr. Scuggs, I was shocked and disgusted when my grandson told me about the head-popping beast at your show. Please send me 6 tickets. You're Beast Boy. I used to like New Kids on the Block, but you're way cuter. My favorite ice cream is chocolate. Is it fun ripping people's heads off? I love you. The Beast Boy is on a bloodletting spree, and Oscar is along for the ride. That one's from Pat Collins.
Yeah, but she loves everything.
Rick reaches for the fiddle faddle, but the bowl is empty. Toad burps.
Toad, that fiddle faddle is for guests only. You've had enough.
Toad is blank-faced. Elijah walks over and refills the bowl. Rick scoops some into his mouth. Elijah walks to the fireplace and pushes the embers around with a poker.
Look, Scuggs, Elijah, I've been in show business all my life. The public does not want to see disgusting, depraved, violent filth.
Oh, and I suppose Jake and the Fat Man is just a fluke.
The phone rings. Elijah looks at it and back to Rick.
I'll get it.
He goes over to the phone and lifts the receiver.
Hello?
On the other end of the line, we hear Laughing Man's insane chuckle. Elijah's smooth smile fades. He turns his back to Rick, who strains to identify the familiar laughing voice. Elijah scribbles notes on a pad by the phone.
Yes, right. Tomorrow. Wow, okay, you got it. Hasta la vista to you too.
Laughing Man hangs up on Elijah. He looks a little pissed off as he turns to face Rick again. Grumbling, he takes the poker in hand and pokes at the coals angrily.
Okay, Coogan, I'm done with you now.
Rick rises and snatches the notepad just before Elijah spins to face him.
But listen, I may not be Mr. Tinseltown, but I damn well know what I like. You're going to be a hideous killing machine, and that's final. Tomorrow night, I'll finish the job on stage. And then to demonstrate your horrible power, you'll slaughter all the old obsolete freaks in cold blood. Hey!
Elijah thrusts the red-hot fire poker out and zap! He catches Toad's 10-foot-long tongue curled around the searing poker inches from Fiddle Faddle.
I told you, enough!
Cut to exterior Elijah's house day. Elijah shows Rick out the door. The eyes scurry out and leap back into the sockets of the giant head.
Bye-bye. And remember, try another escape, and I'll feed your balls to Toad.
As he walks towards the freak house, Rick pulls out the note he pocketed. A gust of wind blows it away from him. He chases it behind the carnival tent where, clink, he runs into 11 phony milkmen, backing their way around the corner, each carrying their own 6-pack of milk bottles. Startled, they turn around. Why, it's the freaks, and they're all dressed as milkmen. Cowboy carries the hammer, who's dressed in a little milkman suit as well.
Hey, Rick, I thought you were going to come up with your own escape plan.
This is your big plan? A dozen milkmen, isn't that a little unusual?
Juan hadn't thought of this. He pushes himself forward and confronts Rick viciously.
Well, milkman is theoretically possible. 13 is silly. Looks like one milkman too many, Coogan.
He pushes Rick aside. The freaks continue past him.
Fine then. Go ahead. Hope you like reggae, you flea-bitten bastard.
Rick watches as the freaks approach the open courtyard, where he knows the eyeballs will spot them. Julie glances at him a second, then looks away. His mind made up, Rick takes a deep breath.
Ah, shit.
He runs over to the freaks. He stands in Juan's way.
Look, you'll all be killed. You don't know about Elijah's giant Rasta eyeballs with machine guns. Look, it's suicide. I can't let you do it.
And I can't let you stop us.
This is it. Rick and Juan square off. Juan growls and bares his teeth. Rick's monster eyes starts to glow and pulse dimly. They circle each other. The others are transfixed. Elijah's point of view, he peers through a side window and sees a pack of milkmen cheering 2 of their coworkers locked in mortal combat.
That's a lot of milkmen on the same route. No wonder they fight.
Juan rears back, about to lunge. Then suddenly he freezes and looks off in the distance. A squirrel is sitting innocently a few yards off.
Squirrel!
He zooms off after the squirrel. The eyes pop out of the giant head and follow after him. Uzi's firing. Juan dodges their bullets and disappears after his prey. The freaks watch their best chance of freedom run off after a pesky rodent. They turn to Rick.
Wow. Giant Rasta eyeballs. Just like Rick said.
Cool. If it weren't for Rick, we'd all be dead.
Yeah, all right.
Yay!
God, I can't believe he left you for a squirrel. What a dick.
Julie's hurt. She doesn't even smack Ernie.
Now, you know how men are. Besides, it's a pretty good-looking squirrel.
Julie looks at Rick. She sees he's trying to be helpful, not sarcastic.
Come on, you heard the Beast Boy. Back to the freak house, now.
Her eyes meet Rick's. She manages a smile, and Rick smiles back. Ernie seizes the situation and groans as they all head back to the freak's house.
Ugh, not again. Oh, well, at least we'll get to try a new position.
Cut to interior Stark interrogation room. We're moving in towards a door in this desolate, vaguely corporate-looking hallway. Inside the room, we're looking at the back of the laughing man's leather chair. We hear his cackle, as well as Stewie Gluck's tortured screams and a horrible power tool noise. We could see the usual bright interrogation spotlight and a couple of extra goons watching the goings-on. But Stewie and his actual torturer are hidden by Laughing Man's chair. We move past Mr. Big's chair to reveal Stewie lying face down on a table, while Bob Vila is using a power sander on his butt. Bob is happily giving pointers to the two goons.
Notice the way I use an elliptical motion to chafe Stewie's buttocks. It's all here in my new book, Pipes, Fixtures, and Torturing Trolls.
Bob obediently shuts up. Laughing Man directs a sinister low chuckle to Stewie.
No way! I'll never talk! I'm made of stone!
Bob considers this a second, then starts up a jackhammer.
Help! Ring! Ring!
Cut to interior freak house day. We hear lonesome harmonica music as we pan past the cubicles. Cowboy is playing the harmonica. The bearded lady unties the pretty pink ribbon in his hair and sets it aside. Suddenly, we switch to horrific psycho stings as the camera picks up Paul Lynn's corpse with flashing red lights. His eyeball drips out of his socket again. Then it's back to the sad harmonica music. In the next cubicle, Ernie is sleeping. Julie is awake, dreamily fondling a large eclair. She looks longingly up towards Rick's cubicle as we dream dissolve to dreamland. Rick, his face is normal, and Julie kiss passionately in a billowy white bed amidst puffy clouds.
Julie, compared to this, sex with Julia Roberts was a thankless chore.
Quick dissolve back to Julie. We follow her gaze, panning up to Rick. He's lying on his bed, dreamily fondling a donut. He looks down towards Julie's cabin. Dream dissolve to dreamland. Rick and Julie kiss passionately. We're tight on them.
Oh, Rick, you've touched a place in me no one has ever touched before.
I'll say, almost punctured a kidney.
Widen to show Ernie, still attached to Julie, leering at Rick. Rick is mortified. Quick dream dissolve to interior freak house day. Rick sits in his cubicle, visibly sickened by his daydream. Stewie's echoey voice drifts in. A holographic image of Stewie lying on the torture table appears over Rick. We can see the jackhammer looming over Stewie's face. Rick looks alarmed.
Do something! It's up to you, Rick! Please!
The Laughing Man.
Rick watches the hologram break up and disappear. Wheels spinning in his head, he takes the crumpled piece of paper out of his pocket and reads it.
Holy shit.
Julie, Ernie's cubicle. Julie and Ernie are struggling over a bottle of deodorant.
It says it's strong enough for a man.
But it's made for a woman.
He grabs it away and shoves it in Ernie's mouth. Rick walks in.
Hey, Rick, what's up?
Read this. I grabbed it from Scug's office.
He hands her the note paper. She reads it, and with some difficulty. Ernie is still gagging on deodorant.
Hey, Donna, Hugh, renew subscription to Beaver World? Ew.
She gives Rick a disgusted look. Ernie mumbles with deodorant in his mouth. Julie smacks him. He swallows the deodorant.
After that.
Prepare demonstration for Laughing Man. Receive 5,000 barrels of Noxant. 5,000 barrels?
Elijah's up to something big and we have to stop him.
Ernie belches. Rick sniffs the air.
Jasmine.
Swish pan to Interior Freak House Day. Rick takes a deep breath and begins his presentation to the freak assembled before him.
All right, guys. Listen up.
Sockhead suddenly freaks out.
We're done for! We're done for! I don't want to die! It's the end of the world! The apocalypse! Ah!
He stops. Everyone is staring at him.
I haven't said anything yet.
Sorry. Not much for timing.
He takes his seat again.
Tomorrow night, at the show, we turn into a homicidal monster and be forced to kill you all. But we might have a chance if we act fast. And I'm prepared to be your new leader.
A thrilling chord. Dun dun dun.
Say we kill him.
Sockhead nods.
And I've got a plan.
Another thrilling chord. Dun dun dun.
I say we kill him.
Sockhead nods again.
Look, if we can get into Elijah's lab, maybe we can...
Of course. Design a super freak of our own and manipulate the genetic code to make him destroy Elijah instead of us. Brilliant.
Oh. Well...
How do we get to the lab?
Maybe...
Right. The worm could dig a tunnel.
My God. It's so crazy it might just work.
But you need Moxin 24 to make the freaking sludge. And Elijah told us himself, he's run out of it.
Oh. Oh, yeah. Well, see, what I was going to say was...
Yes, exactly. If they've been using Noxin 24 as a fertilizer here, the entire ecosystem must be soaked with it. All we need is a way to extract it from the vegetation, ideally into a liquid form.
Right. Well, what about...
Golly. So that's why my milk comes out that funny green color. I thought the grass tasted funny. Wow, Rick, you're a genius.
Good thinking, Rick.
The freaks all nod in agreement.
Way to go, Rick. How do you ever think of such a plan?
Rick pulls out an old comic book and points to an ad for sea monkeys.
Actually, I was going to suggest we send away for sea monkeys, train them to fire guns and make a break for it. But do you want to talk about this other thing? Yeah, I guess that's okay.
The freaks stare at him, not sure if he's kidding or not. Cut to Interior Freak House Night. Freaks on a mission montage, set to a pounding Eye of the Tiger type song. Nosy milks Cowboy, squirting the glowing milk into a funnel, which feeds into a crude still. The torch heats the boiler. The worm digs the tunnel. Ernie hand Rick pieces of wood, which he puts into a place as a tunnel supports. They hand him Paul Lynn's corpse, and he wedges it in as well. Everyone's getting into it and working up a sweat. Nosy wipes his brow, opens a bottle of Pepsi, and chugs it down in a beautifully lit slow-mo product shot. The other freaks follow suit, including the worm down in the tunnel, who struggles to hold the bottle in his tiny feeler. Everything's going great, and the song is really pumping when Elijah runs out his front porch in the night clothes and screams down at the outhouse.
Would you turn down that goddamn racket?
In the freak house, Nosy turns off the boombox and the music cuts short. The freaks exchange tense looks. Noisy calls out apologetically to Elijah.
Sorry. What a jerk.
Interior underground tunnel. The worm burrows along, leaving a tunnel wide enough for Rick and Ernie to crawl after him. Rick notices a ray of light coming through a rock formation.
Hey, look at this.
They all stop and look. Rick fingers the hole and the rocks cave in, revealing a vast underground city. It's obviously a matte painting.
Good Lord. It's the lost city of Nod.
Wow.
Ker-chunk. We hear the sound of a slide projector switching slides, and the underground city is replaced by a still image of some tourists standing around a geyser. Foreign version, the Blarney Stone.
Hey, it's Old Faithful.
Foreigny take, it's the Blarney Stone. They ooh and ah.
Ooh.
The image switches to a snapshot of a fat middle-aged woman.
Hey, it's my Aunt Gladys.
The other freaks nod politely. The image switches to a bar mitzvah photo.
Hey, that's me and my bar mitzvah.
Yeah, come on, Ernie, let's go.
Wait, you got to see the ones from Sweet Boy Camp. They're hilarious.
Julie smacks him.
Stooge.
Exterior freak compound night. It's an ant farm view of the yard where the freaks are visible tunneling underground, and Toad is visible on the yard above them. We can see a bat fly overhead. Zap! Toad shoots out his tongue, snags it out of midair, and chews it happily, oblivious to the freaks burrowing right underneath him. Interior freak house. Nosy looks at the nearly full container of distilled Noxon.
Almost there. But wait, getting a whiff of things to come.
What do you smell?
Blood.
Bearded lady looks grave. Nosy sniffs again.
And hot buttered popcorn.
All right.
Interior tunnel. They're burrowing along. Ernie loudly clears his throat. Julie spits out a loogie. She grimaces.
Ugh, I hate it when you do that.
We hear muffled barking.
Hey, you hear that?
It's a dog.
Hurry!
The worm breaks through into a small cavern with several exposed sewer pipes. A lovable mutt leaps out of a pipe and drops an old tennis ball in front of Rick. He starts licking Rick's face.
Scrappy!
Sappy music wells up.
Oh, it's been 10 years since you chased that ball into the sewer. I thought you were gone for good.
Yep.
Listen, Scrap, go home and get help. You understand?
Yep.
Good boy. Now go.
Scrappy runs away into the sewer pipe. Rick shrugs.
You never know.
Julie taps on some exposed wood on the cavern ceiling.
Look, a wood floor.
It must be the lab. We've done it.
They all look at each other excitedly. Suddenly, Elijah's voice rings out behind them.
Not so fast, you scabrous freaks.
They spin around and see Nosy holding the bottle of Noxon 24. He grins.
Didn't know I did impressions, did you?
Interior freak house. The freaks are waiting around the hole. Nosy pops out.
Mission accomplished. They've got the Noxon and they'll be in the lab within minutes.
Boy, this is going like clockwork.
Everyone smiles, pats each other on the back, etc. Except Sockhead, who finally snaps.
No! You can't see we're taking our own graves! It's nuts! That's what it is, it's nuts! Well, maybe you all got a death wish, but you can't kill me out! I'm getting the hell out of here!
He runs amok, pushed various freaks to the ground, and runs around screaming. The freak's house door opens. I step in to check out the noise. One of them has a spiff sticking out of its pupil. Sockhead charges at them like a mad dog. They aim their Uzis.
Out of my way!
Rata, rata, rata! They spray an ungodly amount of bullets into Sockhead. He falls to the ground. The eyes leave. The freaks gather around Sockhead. Nosy pulls the sock off his head, which makes a little Senior Pepe face with its fist. It spits up a trickle of blood and tries to speak.
I just want to say.
What is it, kid?
Forget it. I'm not much for dying.
He goes limp. Cut to interior Elijah's lab. Julie, Ernie, the worm, and Rick are just emerging from the hole. It's really dark in the lab.
Shit, I can't see a damn thing.
Keep your voice down, Ernie.
Don't push me, Cooke. I got a real short fuse today. I'm cranky, bloated, got a wicked case of cramps. Don't ask why.
Right.
Rick pats Ernie on the shoulder reassuringly. He moves over to Elijah's computer terminal.
Well, here it is. The control panel for Elijah's freaking process.
Good work, my boy. Now step aside. This is scientist's work.
Worm muscles Rick out of the way and sits at the console. Using a pen held in his mouth, he flicks a series of switches and punches a fast series of computer keys. The light on top of the Tasty Freaks machine starts to resolve, and after a couple of seconds, a stream of gooey light brown gloop oozes out of the spigot.
Hey, it's working.
You did it, Worm. Way to go.
But how? You didn't even use the Noxon.
Worm rushes over to the container of gloop behind the spigot and without hesitation plunges his face into it. Rick, Julie, and Ernie gasp in horror. The worm lifts his gloop-smeared face out of the bowl and smacks his lips in delight.
You don't need Noxon to make butterscotch pudding. I just wanted to test the machine's capabilities. Glorious. So creamy. Yeah.
The worm is lost in his pudding-induced reverie. They ignore him. Julie turns back to Rick.
Hang on, Rick. Do you really think we should put this toxic glop on you? What if it doesn't work? What if something goes wrong? What if
it does work, do you think there'll be enough left over to give me a monster-sized Rodney?
Julie goes to donk Ernie in the eyes, but he uses the classic Three Stooges hand block.
Here, hold this.
Rick hands the container of Noxon to Ernie. Julie gives him the eye poke. Rick shakes his hands with Julie and takes back the Noxon.
Thanks. Look, I've been a freak all my life. I realize that now. Up there on that screen, humiliated myself for every fool with $6 in his pocket.
$7.
times $7.50.
All right, it doesn't matter.
Sure it does. They don't let you into the theater if you don't pay the price of the ticket.
Look, I'm talking about the ultimate human sacrifice.
No kidding. When you consider money for parking, popcorn, drinks, it's...
The worm chimes in, still gorging himself on pudding.
Don't forget a sitter for children.
Rick's had enough.
Hey! In case you haven't noticed, I'm about to commit a noble and selfless act here.
Rick pounds the table, sending a glass beaker flying. It smashes through the window, setting off a loud siren. Interior Elijah's den. Elijah in his robes, watching the opening of Crooked Cops on TV. On screen is a revolving police beacon in a beat-up car with a loud siren. Elijah munches his popcorn happily. Interior lab. Julie manages to silence the alarm by yanking the cord out of its socket. She shoots Rick a hard look. He shrugs innocently.
Oops. Okay, let's do what we came to do. And this time, no more screw-ups.
Rick slams his hand down for emphasis and impales it on one of those desktop paper pins. He screams in agony. Interior Elijah's den. Elijah's watching an old war movie. A soldier is running across the battlefield with a bayonet, screaming. He doesn't hear Rick. Interior lab. Julie has her hand over Rick's mouth, silencing his scream. He calms down. He gingerly slides the pin out of his hand, grimacing but not making a sound. He sighs with relief. The coast seems clear. Then, in slow motion, hand knocks a styrofoam cup off the desk and onto the ground. Interior Elijah's den. The war movie has erupted into a massive battle, machine guns blaring, grenade launchers, bazookas booming, the works. Suddenly, his ears perk up and his head swivels around towards the window.
Styrofoam cup.
He puts on his smiley face, robe, and bunny slippers and heads out the door. Interior lab. Julie is pouring the distilled Noxon into the top of the Tasty Freaks machine.
Don't you think we should make some more pudding first? As a test.
No! Here goes.
He presses some buttons on the computer and the Tasty Freaks machine starts humming. Ernie is looking out the window.
Somebody's coming. Hurry!
We have to wait. There's no way to speed up the machine.
Exterior Elijah's house. Elijah comes out of the house and walks towards the lab. Interior lab. Rick's starting to sweat. He looks over at Julie, who holds an empty Pepsi cup under the Tasty Freaks spigot. A drop of ointment drops out and into the container.
Here it comes.
The lab doorknob begins to turn slowly. Everybody freezes. The flow of ooze slows to a stop.
It's plugged up.
They look over at the doorknob. It's still turning.
If it's your damn pudding, I'll wring your wormy neck.
Preposterous! I have no neck. I'm a worm, you imbecile.
The doorknob is still turning, agonizingly slow. Outside the lab, Elijah's trying to turn the knob. His grip keeps slipping because of the butter on his fingers.
Ah, damn buttered popcorn.
In the lab, the spigot has started to discharge more reliably. The Pepsi cup is now filling up. Outside, Elijah is wiping his hands off on his shirt tails. He tries the doorknob again. In the lab, we hear a low rumbling and the floor starts to shake.
The tunnel walls are about to collapse.
You go ahead. I'll catch up.
But
Go!
The doorknob is turning more vigorously, but still not opening. Julie and Ernie get to the hole with Worm, while Rick attends to the almost full Pepsi cup of sludge. Outside, Elijah is still having trouble with his grip. In the lab, Rick pops the plastic lid onto the Pepsi cup and climbs into the hole. He rests the cup on the floor and lifts the floorboard over his head. The rumbling gets louder as the tunnel walls start to crumble.
Rick, come on.
Rick is losing his balance as the ground shifts beneath him. He sways and knocks the Pepsi cup of sludge rolling. He watches helplessly as it rolls across the floor and comes to a stop across the room. For a second, he contemplates making a dash. Outside, Elijah has wrapped his shirt tails around the knob and finally has a good grip. He twists the knob. Inside, Rick sees the door opening. He dives down into the hole, the floorboard barely falling into place just as Elijah walks in. Elijah scans the room. He goes over towards the Tasty Freaks machine and finds the styrofoam cup.
Bad for the environment.
He crumples it in his hand. Exterior, freak compound. The ant farm view again. We see the freaks running back through the tunnel as it caves in behind them. Toad sits on the ground above, oblivious to them. We hear a low-flying aircraft. Zap! Toad shoots his tongue up out of the frame and sucks the twin-engine Cessna into his mouth. Beat. He burps and spits up a propeller. Interior freak house. The freaks wait by the mouth of the tunnel. We hear the rumbling approach. The worm, Julie, Ernie, and finally Rick scramble out of the opening. The dirt avalanche is stopped short by Paul Lynn's corpse, just as Rick scrambles to safety.
Just made it.
Paul saved our lives.
Way to go, Paul.
Nosy claps Paul on what's left of his back. His skeleton shatters and the tunnel collapses, burying him instantly. The freaks are horrified. Nosy turns to them guiltily in slow motion. His voice is slowed down and distorted like John Lennon at the end of Strawberry Fields.
I buried Paul.
Back to normal speed.
This is no time to lament over a cadaver. We've got to keep moving with history. Now, come on!
Nosy is still morose. He speaks backwards and sounds a lot like Revolution Number 9.
Nice and Paul.
Subtitle: Paul is dead.
Look, I said enough. Okay, listen up, everybody. We cracked the code and made the oil we need to bring Scuds down for good.
The freaks applaud and cheer.
But we left it in the lab.
The freaks jeer and pelt Rick with rotten vegetables. He desperately pulls a bag of cookies out of his pocket.
But wait! I found some macaroons! And there's plenty for all of us!
The freaks burst into applause again.
Yay!
Time dissolved to Interior Freak House Day. The freaks are all sleeping, macaron crumbs still left on their faces. There's a lot of snoring. Rick awakens with a start. He hears something in the distance. Something like a helicopter? He gets up and peeks out a crack in the wall. Rick's point of view, exterior Freakland Day. An EES corporate helicopter touches down. A few gun-toting security guys in dark suits and dark glasses get out. They check that the coast is clear, then give the signal. Out steps Richard Hertz. He mutters something to one of the security guys and walks towards the freak house. In the freak house.
Leave it. What's Hertz doing here?
The floor to the freak house opens. The door to the freak house opens. Hertz enters, unzips his fly. Finding no toilet, he shrugs and relieves himself on the floor. Rick steps out of the shadows towards him.
So EES is in bed with Elijah C. Scuggs, eh? Figures.
Hertz is momentarily startled by Rick. He collects himself.
Rick, oh God, thank God I got you in time.
Cut the crap, Hertz.
Hertz relieves himself as he talks.
Ricky, you have no idea how misfortune has touched our hearts. When you disappeared, we almost gave up hope, but we had heard reports of Scuggs' reckless abuse of Noxon. And when the story broke in the tabloids, I decided to personally come down and get to the bottom of things.
He zips up and heads to the door.
Really?
No.
Really should get that checked. The crackle is unmistakable. Rick's face twists in horror as he realizes Hertz is the laughing man. Hertz ducks out the door. Rick looks after him, stunned. We hear a nearby snore cut off, and the Human Torch stands up from the spot where Hertz relieved himself. He's dripping wet and no longer on fire. He sniffs his soaked, smoldering clothing.
Phew! Hey! All of that really pisses me off.
Poof! He catches fire again and walks off. Rick is doing a slow burn, still looking after Hertz. He erupts and his monster eye glows briefly. He screams in anguish.
Ah!
Dejected, Rick leans against the wall. Ernie walks up behind him. Julie puts a hand on Rick's shoulder to comfort him. As they look into each other's eyes, a loud crash distracts them. Rick peers through the crack. Rick's point of view. A caravan of EES trucks crash through the front gate and drive up to the lab. There's a few cargo trucks and a huge Noxon 24 tanker.
Holy shit.
A forklift drives out of the back of one of the large trucks, carrying the old corporate farts on a wooden pallet. One of them falls off, and a bunch of workmen scramble out to prop him up and push him back into place. Interior lab day. Elijah switches on the lights and turns to face his audience. Hertz is accompanied by his stone-faced security men and various executives. Workmen are busy installing the old board of directors and their arm-raising pulley system.
Nice to see you in the flesh, laughing man.
No need to use code names, Elijah. We're all friends here. And just to prove it, I brought you a little present.
Hertz snaps his fingers and nods to a security guard who produces a wriggling canvas sack. He dumps its contents into the lab table. It's Stewie Gluck. His glasses come tumbling out after him. He squints at the security guy.
Rick, is that you?
Who's the troll?
He was asking questions about Coogan causing trouble. We figured he was one of yours.
Stewie puts on his glasses. Elijah looks him up and down.
Oh, I make freaks, all right, but come on, fellas, this thing's pathetic.
Well, you're no Julio Iglesias yourself, mister. Rick! Rick! Rick!
Interior freak house. Rick hears Stewie's voice in his head, all echoey.
Oh, no, not now, Stewie.
The ghostly image of Stewie gradually takes shape in front of Rick. Rick can make out the lab table Stewie's on and some shadowy figures in the background.
Hey, that's Elijah's lab. Well, Stewie, are you really in the lab?
Interior lab. Stewie is still wailing and everyone else is getting pretty damn annoyed.
Yes, I'm in the lab. I'm in the lab.
Not only ugly, he's crazy too.
Toad grabs Stewie and slaps a piece of tape over his mouth. He throws him into one of the chicken cages along the far wall. A two-headed chicken starts to peck at him.
So, where were we?
Gentlemen, I'm not going to bullshit you. I know my setup here at Freakland looks like small potato.
He pulls the cover off a small-scale model of Freakland, about 10 inches high. It shows the stage, lab, outhouse, the head, everything.
But thanks to your Noxon and my genius, tonight I will turn Ricky Coogan into a freak so hideous, it'll be enough to turn your stomach inside out, boil your brain in its own juice, and cause cold sores you thought had healed up to start bugging you again. It's the dawning of a new age for us all. Behold, super mega freak world.
He whisks the cover off another scale model. It's exactly the same as the little model, except it's a lot bigger.
It's really something, huh?
Very impressive.
We'll kick Disney's dead ass.
Interior Freak House. Rick is watching all of this in a ghostly image.
Stewie! Stewie, can you hear me?
Stewie's image still within his mouth, with his mouth taped shut, and the chicken pecking at him nods yes.
I want you to try and escape. Get the cup from underneath the instrument table and bring it to me, okay?
He gives Rick the old trademark Coogan thumbs up. Rick half-heartedly returns the gesture.
Yeah, right. Get moving.
Interior lab. Stewie checks to make sure nobody's watching him. They're not. He removes the spring from a pocket pen and picks the lock. Stewie searches the floor and spots the Pepsi cup. He'll have to crawl through several pairs of legs to reach it.
At AES, our plans for your game machines, or your gene machines, include everything except shoes, that is.
Yeah, I'd love to see your plans.
We'd love to show you. Bill, if you'd be so kind.
Bill Blazer, a slick and dashing EES marketing executive, strides confidently up to the podium. Stewie has to duck the fast approaching legs. Bill steps over him, not even noticing he's there. Bill takes Elijah's Freak World graphic off an easel and replaces it with his own. Finding no place to deposit Elijah's, he simply drops it on the floor. Elijah looks a little hurt.
What does today's businessman want? How about a receptionist with 6 arms, 5 mouths, and a knockout figure? That'd sure speed things up, wouldn't it?
With a big smile, Bill reveals an illustration of a multi-limbed secretary in a sexy dress, taking on 3 different phones, taking notes, and typing all at once. Stewie heads towards the Pepsi cup. He brushes against the back of Hertz's legs. Hertz looks over at Elijah beside him, who smiles politely. Hertz smiles back, invitingly. Maybe there's a few things we don't know about him.
In the factory, how about a worker with 12 busy hands, no mouth to talk back, and no genitalia or digestive system to distract him from his work? Sure, it's what we all dream of.
The EES guys all nod along, except for the workmen, who exchange worried looks. Elijah's still not sure what to make of it all. Meanwhile, Stewie has the Pepsi cup of sludge in his hand, and he's crawling under the tables towards the door. He brushes up against the back of Elijah's legs. Elijah looks over to Hertz, who gives him that smile again. Elijah looks away quickly, panicky.
Well, with this Scuggs-based Noxon technology, it's not only possible, it's just the beginning. Of course, what happened to our expensive spokesman, Ricky Coogan, was an unfortunate coincidence, but profits from these new markets could total in the billions.
All of the executives turn to Hertz. He cracks a smile.
Ricky who?
The executives laughed heartily. Stewie glances around the room to the door. He has to make a break for it, so he does.
Hey, hold on.
Stewie freezes. He's right out in the open, in plain view. Still, nobody seems to notice him. They're still watching Bill's presentation.
Secretaries, a worker drone. Where's the fun? Where's the spark? Where's the unspeakable evil?
Bill laughs pleasantly.
I was just getting to that.
Bill launches back into his speech with more intensity than even the best infomercials. Meanwhile, Stewie inches towards the door, moving as imperceptibly as possible.
We'll impact every field: cosmetics, breast enlargement creams, nose jobs in a bottle, military, human death machines that make Schwarzenegger look like a pansy. And why stop at consumer products? Hell, we can design a whole new consumer. A few well-placed drops in the water supply and bingo! It's the new master race, and we own the copyright. An entire planet of freaks owned and operated by us. Every part of their bodies comes from an EES supplier. Every thought they think is an EES policy. From now on, gentlemen, it's EES Uber Allies. EES Uber Allies!
The EES guys clap and shout approval. Elijah's impressed, too. He leans over to Hertz.
This guy's good.
We lured him away from AT&T.
Can you hear me now? Stewie is finally out the door. Of course, now they spot him.
Look, the troll!
After him!
Exterior lab. Stewie is outside the lab inexplicably. Actually, it's just because he's so stupid. He's still moving inch by inch. He calls to Rick through the tape in his mouth.
Ooh, ooh.
Interior freak house. Rick sees the image of Stewie inching away from the lab.
Take the tape off of your mouth, idiot. They didn't tie your hands.
Stewie realizes this is true and pulls the tape off his mouth.
I got the cup, Rick.
Great. Look, there's no time to waste. Are you being followed?
Yeah, but I don't move. But if I don't move, they won't see me.
Two big EES security guys are standing watching Stewie's odd behavior. They pick him up and carry him away. Rick sees this all in his holographic image. It fades.
What a geek.
He turns to the other freaks who've woken up and are gathering around on the floor. Rick shakes his head.
Stewie got caught. There's no way to get the ointment before the show.
So that's it then. We're all to die. And by your hand, no less.
No, it won't be me. It's some inhuman monster Elijah used me to create. As for me, the real me, I'll always be your friend. Before I have to rip your heads off, I'd like to say goodbye to each of you. Worm, I'll miss your brains, the smell of your pipe, and the funny way you always go on talking until everyone wants to strangle you.
He pats the worm on the head tenderly and turns to Cowboy. Ah, Rick.
Cowboy, I'll miss your good humor, your down-home wisdom, and of course the frothy milkshakes were utterly delicious.
He smiles and playfully tugs Cowboy's udders. Ugh. He turns to the bearded lady.
Bearded lady? I don't know. We'll always have Paris?
Bearded lady is kind of confused. Rick shrugs.
Nosy? I never really liked you.
He moves to Frogman.
Frogman? I think death is probably the best thing for you now.
Frogman nods in agreement. Rick repatches Ernie.
Ernie? Julie? I have mixed feelings. On one hand, I'll remember you as the best friend a jerk like me ever had and a low-down repulsive slimeball.
He turns to Julie. Romantic music swells up.
On the other hand, I really respect you. And more than that, I wish we'd had a chance to boink.
Oh, Rick.
They embrace. Rick calls out to the assembled group.
Today, I make the proudest boast a man can utter. Ich bin ein Freak!
They're all ready to cheer, but they're confused by his bad German. Rick has to explain himself.
I'm a freak?
Oh, they all get it. Beat. Then they cheer. Cut to
Yay!
exterior carnival tent tonight. A huge banner reads, "New improved Beast Boy slaughters his loved ones. Special guest, funny man Don Herrera. Tonight only." We can hear the sound of the crowd out inside the tent. There's a typically smallish crowd in addition to the EES executives who occupy the front seats. The security goons are strategically situated throughout the tent, and two of them sit on either side of Stewie in the second row. Elijah is on stage.
And now the moment you've all been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the lucky young man who's about to become the monster with the mostest. Here he is, the Beast Boy.
Toad pulls a rope and the curtains open, revealing Rick strapped to an operating table. On the stage left, there's a large cage containing all the other freaks, including the unconscious, half-naked Milkman, who Rick knocked out in the freak house. The Milkman domes to look around in panic, grabs the bar of the cage and screams, "Ah! We're in a zoo!" Rick searches the cheering audience for Stewie, who waves the Pepsi cup full of gloop in the air. Rick hears Stewie's voice echo in his head telepathically.
Rick, over here.
Stewie's waving cup is blocked the view of the big, annoyed biker sitting behind him. Elijah quiets the crowd and holds up a beaker of ointment.
with this remarkable ointment of my own design, I will now turn this half-finished ghoul into the ultimate super freak, dedicated to evil.
Elijah puts on some rubber gloves and prepares a glop. Rick, who squints under the spotlight, still searching for Stewie, he calls out telepathically.
Stewie, where are you?
Stewie stands up on his seat, waves the cup, totally blocking the biker's view. He telepathically replies,
Here I am, Rick.
God damn it. Kid, would you sit down?
The biker grabs the cup and dumps it over Stewie's head. The good ointment runs down all over Stewie's body. All eyes turn to Stewie, who falls down and disappears into the floor screaming.
Oh no.
What the hell?
Suddenly, an 8-foot-tall monster version of Stewie leaps to its feet and snarls down at the biker. The biker pulls a switchblade and jams it into Stewie's monster leg. The blade crumples on his armor-like hide. Stewie grins and slam! He drives the biker into the ground like a railroad spike. He leaps onto the stage and stalks Elijah.
This is mine, Scruggs.
Rick and the freaks in the cage cheer Stewie Monster on.
Uh-oh, that kid looks pissed. I kill him.
I rush the stage, Uzis firing.
Rastafari!
The bullets bounce off Stewie's hide. He donks them with his big monster finger and sends them flying through the tent roof, across the compound, and thwop into the giant head's eye sockets, where they spin around to come to a stop. Cockeyed. Crash! The head's fountain crumbles and it keels over backwards. Interior carnival tent. Elijah calls out to Toad.
Toad!
Stewie Monster roars at Toad. Toad smiles weakly. The tent roof. Toad catapults through it, follows the path of I across the compound, and crash! Lands headfirst into the neck of the giant head. He gets up with the giant head stuck on his own head, making him look like one of those big-headed caricatures. He runs blindly across the yard and into the electric fence. Zap! Boing! Ding, ding, ding. I zing out of the sockets, and Toad's tongue sticks 10 feet out of the giant head's mouth. It's the biggest Tex Avery cartoon take ever. Elijah looks worried. He scoops up some evil ointment.
Looks like it's time to roll out the big gun. Sayonara, kiddo. Any last words?
Rick considers it. He can't think of anything.
Nah.
Suit yourself.
He raises the ointment over Rick. Rick has an idea for a last word.
Wait! Nah.
Elijah glops Rick. His skin starts to smoke. Stewie Monster stalks Elijah out on stage. Rick is smoking and shaking violently on the table. Hertz turns to his EES cronies in the audience. He looks bored.
What a waste of $12. Let's get the machine and go.
The other executives nod. Rick starts to transform. Fwop! His ears spring out of his huge monster ears. Kind of like Pinocchio. Fwop! His mouth grows into a massive Big Daddy Roth-style monster mouth. Fweep! His upper head does the same. His body follows suit. He bursts out of the straps, growing into a drooling, 10-foot-tall Rick monster. He snarls at Stewie Monster.
Time to die, troll!
The crowd and the other freaks look on tense. Stewie Monster instinctively whips out a Rick Coogan publicity photo and a pen.
Rick, can you sign this?
Rick Monster snarls and bashes Stewie Monster in the face. Stewie Monster jabs the pen through the photo and snarls back.
Fight!
Even Julie is screaming, fight! Beside herself with bloodthirsty glee. Ernie smacks her. The crowd goes nuts as the monsters trade a series of cliche pro wrestling moves. Stewie bashes Rick. Rick bashes Stewie, etc.
Give him the skull cracker, you big goon.
No way, the skullcracker is an illegal move.
Stewie grabs Rick's hair and marches him around the stage. The crowd is taking sides, screaming out advice and foaming at their mouths.
Let's get this over with. Hey, Hertz, tell your goons to... What the hell?
Hertz stands in front of the group of EES hard hats who are using forklifts to move the Tasty Freaks machine towards the exit. He noticed Elijah and taps his executive assistant.
At this point in time, we at EES regret that we must leave this performance prematurely.
What are you saying?
What we're saying is, get stuffed, yokel.
I figured I couldn't trust you corporate greaseballs.
Elijah turns to an alarm box on the wall, which reads, "Break glass in case of double-crossing corporate greaseballs." He breaks the glass and pulls the lever inside. A trap door on the stage opens and a large chemical tank rises out of it. Elijah jumps into the seat of the gun turret, nozzle atop the tank. He aims the nozzle at the EES group.
Let me proudly introduce the latest in our product line, Noxin 25, now available in a convenient pump.
Bullshit! Everything except those Shoes Corporation, Shoes Corporation releases no new products unless I give the order.
I think it's time EES branched out a little.
He presses the plunger and the nozzle spews a torrent of yellow glop on the EES people. They scream in agony as their bodies meld together into one big mutating blob. Alistair Cooke stands up in the audience. He's got a head bandage and a crutch from being trampled at the last show.
Head for the hills before he gets all of us.
The crowd goes berserk and rushes the exits, trampling poor Cooke like a roach. Rick Monster flips Stewie into the ground and starts stomping on him. Stewie is knocked out cold. Rick leaves him on the floor and stalks the freak cage murderously.
Now I rip freaks to pieces!
No, we're your friends!
Oh. Now I rip friends to pieces!
He rips some bars off the cage and is about to smear Julie Ernie with a jagged steel bar when Stewie Monster grabs his leg and trips him. Stewie summons all his remaining energy to wrestle Rick, delaying him for the moment from the slaughtering the freaks. Meanwhile, Elijah is watching as the EES blob solidifies into a giant shoe made of living flesh. It's got eyeballs where the eyes should be, a tongue where the tongue should be, but it's helpless and immobile. Elijah looks at him with pride. He does his best Ed Sullivan impression.
Now that's a really, really big shoe. I think I'd like a pair of those.
He swivels the nozzle towards the cage full of freaks and is about to glop them when Rick stands up above Stewie, blocking Elijah's trajectory at the freak cage. Rick raises the jagged bar above Stewie, ready to drive it down through his chest.
Would you hurry up and waste the troll, please? I got a lonely shoe over here.
Rick Monster nods and drives his spear down when we cut to Interior Regis and Kathy Lee show set. Rick's silhouette, which matches his 10-foot monster incarnation, is immersed in the story.
And then...
Oh, sorry to interrupt, Rick, but you've been talking for almost 90 minutes, and we've just got to go to a commercial.
Sorry.
We'll be right back after this, folks.
Cut to product shot. A fine array of different kinds of cheese on a chopping block.
You like cheese. You like being a man. That's why you like...
A burly hand swipes all the cheese off the block and slams down an aluminum can labeled Machismo.
Machismo. Real cheese for real men. Now in a handy aluminum dispenser.
The hand crushes the can and gooey yellow cheese squirts out the top. Cut to Interior Regis and Kathy Lee's show set. We hear a music bite from Les Freaks.
And now back to the exciting conclusion of Ricky Coogan's incredible story.
Well, let's see. The other freaks were lined up in Elijah's sights, and I was about to shove a pipe through Stewie's skull when all of a sudden, I heard a voice.
Dissolve to Interior Carnival Tent Night. Rick stops the spear inches from Stewie's chest. Their eyes meet.
Kill him! Kill him!
Elijah's bloodthirsty goading fades away. and Cowboy's voice reverberates in Rick's head. I reckon that troll could help you if you just let him into your heart. Your heart. Your heart. The voice keeps echoing. A tear wells up in Rick Monster's eye. He looks over at Cowboy, who's actually calling out to him from the stage. Your heart. Your heart. Your heart. Rick Monster loses his murderous glare. He breaks into a warm smile, throws the pipe away, and helps Dewey Monster up. They hug. Aww. The rest of the freaks cheer wildly.
Attaboy, Cooke. Hey, ain't that something?
The worm is gushing sentimentally. He tries to hide his tears.
Tosh, sentimental claptrap, shameless maudlin. Bah.
He can't hold it anymore. He bawls like a baby. Meanwhile, Elijah is hopping mad.
Cut the lovey-dovey bullshit and start mutilating each other.
He aims at Rick Monster and presses the fire button. The glop starts to flow, but before it can make it out of the tip, Rick grabs a hold of the nozzle and twists around to face Elijah.
Ah!
Elijah manages to duck just in time. A stream of yellow Noxon 25 glop flies over his shoulder and lands in the dunk tank full of carbolic acid that sits off to one side of the tent. The acid and the Noxon mix together and bubble up menacingly. Elijah hops down out of the gunner's chair and squares off against Rick Monster. Meanwhile, Stewie Monster has released the other freaks from the cage. They watch the confrontation from a distance. Elijah rolls up his sleeve. Rick growls and advances slowly.
You think I made you strong? Ha! I've cranked my DNA up so high you won't know what hit you. I'm a wrecking machine. Ah!
He rushes at Rick and delivers a flurry of punches in his midsection. They have absolutely no effect. Rick brings one heavy fist slamming down on Elijah's head, stopping him cold.
Oh, I think you crushed my spinal cord. I can't feel anything in my fingers.
Maybe you'll feel this.
Rick rears back to kick him.
Oh, wait, if you kill me, you'll never find the antidote.
The freaks all perk out. Rick's skeptical.
What antidote?
A time-release serum. I baked it into a delicious batch of macaroons.
A slow smile grows on the freaks' faces, especially Rick's.
If you ask me, you skimped on the coconut.
Thwack! Rick boots Elijah between the legs, sending him flying through the air. He lands in the dunk tank seat over the bubbling Noxon acid. Dazed, he looks at the bullseye target and back at Rick. Summoning up his last ounce of bravado, Elijah makes a last stand.
Come on, Coogan. Come on, you haven't got the guts to kill me. Go on, I dare you.
Rick ponders for a second. He looks over to Julie, then...
Yep.
Scrappy!
Scrappy the dog rushes in. He leaps up and presses the bullseye, dropping Elijah into the hideous mixture. Elijah struggles in agony, his body bubbling and mutates in the thick, toxic soup. He sinks lower and lower into the gunk until he and his cries are buried for good. Scrappy leaps into Rick's arms and licks his face.
Yep.
That a boy, Scrap!
Blam, blam! The tent flaps fly open and half dozen FBI agents rush in with guns drawn.
Freeze! FBI!
Another FBI guy investigates the dunk tank, sees Elijah's hat floating on top of the bubbling ooze.
Looks like they took care of Scruggs, Chief.
The chief nods. They put away their guns and approach Rick and the rest of the jubilant freaks.
Nice work, Ricky. You'll get a medal from the vice president for this.
Great, but how did you...
We've been following Scuggs for years. Scrappy just filled in some of the details.
Yep.
Thank heavens you brought him to justice, Rick. God only knows how far his sick plans would have gone.
Hey, Chief, look at this.
The FBI guy has peeled the decal off the Pepsi machine, revealing that it's actually a Coke machine. Dun, dun, dun. The chief is sickened to the core.
Is nothing sacred?
Suddenly, the agents are distracted by a terrible scream. They turn to the dunk tank and are shocked by what they see.
Oh my lord.
No, it can't be.
We swish pan over to reveal a dripping blob climbing out of the dunk tank. The blob separates into two distinct entities with their backs to us. They turn around and, my God, it's Regis and Kathy Lee. Or at least a damn fine mutant imitation of them, calling them, Elijah's and Ellie Lee. They both have glowing red demon eyes and speak in Elijah's voice.
Thought you killed me, huh?
What the hell are you looking at?
2 pieces of dead meat?
Bam, bam, blam! The FBI guys open fire. We show only the horrified reactions of the freaks as they look on to... Cut to interior Regis and Kathy Lee set. Rick, Regis, and Kathy Lee are still in silhouette.
And that's my story.
It was so exciting.
And long, my God, it makes War and Peace sound like a warm-up act.
Okay, we got light.
It's fixed? Well, it's about time.
The lights come on, no more silhouettes. Ricky looks perfectly normal, his old self. His weird silhouette was caused by a potted plant and some strange hanging mobile behind him.
Yeah, it's better.
I'll say. How about it, folks? Let's hear it for Ricky Coogan.
The audience applauds and hoots wildly.
Can we bring out the other freaks now?
The audience cheers as the rest of the freaks walk out from the wings and stand off to the side waving to the audience. They all look clean cut and happy. They wear t-shirts with their former identities printed on them. I was Nosy. I was Cowboy. I was the bearded lady, etc., etc. Except the worm, who's still a worm. His t-shirt says, I'm still the worm.
Ridiculous. Just because a man doesn't like macaroons? Nonsense.
Suddenly, a squirrel runs across stage, followed by Juan. He pounces and catches a furry little bugger.
Gotcha! Damn, it's about time.
Juan!
Hey guys, geez, you look great.
They all hug.
That's just great. What a story and what an ending. Elijah transformed by the goop.
And he really looks like...
Exactly like you two, I swear. Same faces, same outfits, except we have these really big, hideous feet.
He looks down at Regis and Kathy Lee's feet. They're big, hideous, monster feet. Suddenly their eyes glow bright red. It's Elijah's and Ellie Lee. They speak with Elijah's voice.
Show's over, Ricky.
I'm gonna drink your blood.
Ellie Lee pulls a machete and is about to force it down on Rick's throat when... Bang, bang, bang! Elijah's and Ellie Lee's eyes go funny. They look at each other, spit up some blood, wave to the audience one last time, and collapse to the floor. Julie stands behind them, smoking gun in hand. She rushes to Rick. They embrace.
Rick, it's finally over.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Rick! Rick!
Rick and Julie turn and see Stewie, still 10-foot-tall monster running towards them. He's carrying a garbage bag dripping blood.
Stewie!
Look, I have the real Regis and Kathy Lee.
Rick and Julie look at the bag, mortified. Stewie chuckles.
No, this is just my lunch.
Rick and Julie sigh with relief. Stewie pulls out a similar leaking bag and holds it up.
This is Regis and Kathy Lee.
Rick and Julie nod casually. Oh.
Oh.
Aw.
Suddenly, Elijah and Ellie Lee pop up from behind the couch, bloodied but still fierce. They're about to stab Rick and Julie when bang, 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 bang. 5 more shots ring out and they fall dead again. Ernie stands off to the side with a smoking gun.
Oh, like that wasn't totally predictable.
Well, now it's really over.
Sappy end of the movie music wells up.
Thank God. You know, this adventure has taught me something. When man starts impinging on the subtle perfection of Earth's natural order, the only thing he'll create is havoc.
Right, Cooke. I learned something too. That men and women truly are equals. That human spirit transcends gender and physical appearance, and thus it is immune to the petty degradations men may devise. I believe it was Moliere who said,
Julie's had enough. She socks Ernie square in the jaw.
Oh, shut up. Let's go fuck.
Rick gives her a thumbs up. They turn to the audience.
Good night, everybody!
Good night, everybody!
The audience cheers. The hit single from the soundtrack album kicks in as we roll credits. As the credits roll and everybody continues to smile and wave at the cheering audience, Elijah and Eli Lee attack again. Ernie hands the gun to Stewie, who shoots them dead. Well, deadish. Seconds later, after more waving, they attack again. This time, Nosy and Bearded Lady stab them to death. Sort of. A little more waving, more Elijah and Eli Lee making another pathetic attempt. They barely stand. Cowboy clubs them with a mic stand. Worm headbutts the other. A few seconds later, Elijah's bloodied hand gropes its way over the top of the studio couch. Stewie has to prop him up while members of the audience are invited down to punch him in the chops. Ernie stands off to the side, charging everyone $5 per blow. As we fade, everyone's having a go flipping, throwing, kicking, and appalling ragdoll replicas of America's favorite morning show hosts. The end?
Where's the sequel?
Y'all, thank you so much for joining me for this reading. That was amazing. We will see you all at the next one.